Why are you here on your own? Did they leave you behind? Asked Suoping, raising his eyebrows. Nai Huofeng leaned against the wall and looked at Suoping with troubled feelings, while his brilliance died away. He answered weakly, they went to drive the beast tides away. He breathed heavily after saying that. Suoping hummed and said, you can rest here for a while longer then. I'll go there to help them. His attitude towards Nai Huofeng was neutral. The man had in fact defeated the beast tides once, suppressing them in the deep caves, and signed a pact with the ocean sovereign, which ensured peace for humankind for 1,000 years. Those were his achievements. His faults had to do with the beast tides escaping from the deep caves, and the lord of the deep caves that he failed to resist. Suoping was too lazy to decide whether the man should be praised or punished. After all, the battle was over, and he could leave the judgment to future generations. All he needed to do was to do his best at this moment. Nai Huofeng could see the coldness on Suoping's face, knowing what was on his mind, but he didn't explain. He simply said with some bitterness, I don't know what your cultivation technique is, but the astral power I had accumulated for 1,000 years wasn't enough to help you reach the void state. He had been lying there, bitter and uncomfortable as he watched when Suoping absorbed the astral power. It was like finding out that someone else had slept with a girl he held dear and never touched. Nothing at all was left behind for him. However, he also knew he was incapable of competing with Suoping. Besides, Suoping had slain the Lord of the Deep Caves and saved every human on the blue planet. He owed his life to the man. He had no qualification to compete over the astral power because of those very reasons. The other legendary warriors were also aware of that, so they simply left to handle the beast tides, never once voicing a claim for the accumulated astral power. Hee hee. Suoping wore a fake smile when Nai Huofeng made that remark. He certainly wouldn't reveal his technique, which was his biggest secret. Nai Huofeng smiled bitterly at Suoping, not saying anything else. He wasn't really interested to find out Suoping's technique. He was simply astounded because of the outcome. After all, he had saved that astral power for 1,000 years so that he could become a Star Lord. That was supposed to be a huge saving that could make a Star State expert advance to a higher level. Considering Suoping's legendary cultivation, he should have been able to reach the limit of the Fate State, but he didn't even break out of the Ocean State. The blue planet has now moved to this unknown solar system. Judging from the design of those spaceships, they should be products of the Federation. Finally, we're no longer at the Federation's periphery anymore. Nai Huofeng looked above at the many spaceships beyond the atmosphere. His old and dim eyes glittered again as he said, the blue planet will definitely develop much faster now that we're better connected to the Federation. I'll be able to walk out of the blue planet to explore the great universe. The blue planet used to be in a barren, far-flung area with little to no resources. Nai Huofeng was confident of rising again since they had been relocated to a more prosperous area. Reaching higher levels on his own would be possible, even though he had lost the 1,000 years' worth of astral power. He would always achieve something as long as the fire in his heart never died out and he kept pushing forward. Nai Huofeng was too determined to be beaten down by just one disgraceful failure. Suoping slightly raised his eyebrows. He looked at the spaceships and said with concern, I only know that the underdeveloped countries tend to be invaded. Do you think those spaceships will attack and try to enslave us after the protective energy in the atmosphere disappears? Nai Huofeng gave him a rare smile and said, you're overthinking this. Underdeveloped as the blue planet may be, it's a legitimate planet registered in the Federation and protected by federal laws. The natives of the blue planet have genuine ownership of the lands on this planet. Even after the protective layer disappears, they have to pay boarding fees if they want to land on our planet, as well as taxes if they want to catch wild beasts. Besides, the blue planet has just been relocated to this solar system. Many foreigners in this solar system must be very curious and would feel enticed to visit us. You should know that traveling taxes are very high. Nai Huofeng spoke eloquently as if having been reinvigorated. Suoping was quite stunned. He didn't know much about this kind of insider information, but he could tell that the man was probably not lying, seeing the flush of excitement on his old face. It was true that money was always the best ability. No wonder the system was so greedy. Sui Ping secretly shook his head and interrupted Nai Feng. Stay here for now. I'll ask my pet to protect you while I take care of the beast tides. Then, he summoned the purple python. I don't need your protection. Nai Feng was going to continue, but then was rendered speechless by the pet that Sui Ping summoned. Would you please show some sincerity if you want to protect me? A 6th rank battle pet. It's enough to take care of you, said Sui Ping impatiently. What's wrong with the 6th rank? The beast kings were all running for their lives. The purple python's combat ability was as good as that of the ocean state, it could easily ensure his safety. Still, he despises it. I would have simply walked away if you weren't still useful to me. Sui Ping snorted and left. The purple python, too, realized that it had been underestimated. It whipped the ground with its tail and produced a deep ravine. Then, it looked at Nai Feng coldly while sticking out its tongue. Nai Feng was stunned to see the deep ravine. It was obviously not a feat that a 6th rank wild beast could achieve. Also, this python isn't scared of me? Although in poor shape, he was still a star-state warrior. The pressure he released was enough to intimidate most of the mediocre wild beasts. That was the reason he dared to stay behind on his own without any protection. And yet, that python didn't seem to be awed by him at all. It even disrespected him. Well, do strange people always have strange pets? Nai Feng's lips twitched. He then closed his eyes and took a rest. Kill them. The legendary warriors have driven away the beast kings. Those beasts are just subpar. Kill them all. Charge, charge. The battle pet warriors behind the defense lines were reignited with hope after being desperately waiting for their deaths. The Lord of the Deep Caves had been killed and the beast kings ran away. They were fighting with everything they had. The wild beasts that had run to the streets were instantly blocked by the charging battle pet warriors. Run! Protect the elderly and the children. Leave this place to us. We're battle pet warriors too. The battle pet warriors scoured the whole base city and killed the wild beasts. The wild beasts behind the defense lines were instantly slaughtered when Yuxiu and the other legendary warriors joined the battle, their bodies fell everywhere. Roar! Sui Ping also joined the battlefield for the final cleaning. He summoned the Inferno Dragon. A loud draconic roar echoed throughout the battlefield, some of the fleeing wild beasts trembled and ran even faster. Little skeleton, go! Sui Ping cancelled the fusion with the little skeleton, which appeared next to him and charged at the beasts under Sui Ping's command. Stupid dog! Sui Ping looked at his own body. His legs were still curled and full of explosive power, like those of a wolf. Deep hair had also surfaced on his arms. He looked like a werewolf in the moonlight, except that his face was still his own. Phew! Sui Ping cancelled the fusion with the Dark Dragon Hound. Soon, the Dark Dragon Hound appeared in midair. It was still weak, but its horrible wounds had mostly healed. Go get some rest. Sui Ping looked at the Dark Dragon Hound while harboring complicated feelings. He had understood what was on its mind during the battle. The stupid dog had been trying its best to understand defense skills not because it was scared of death, but because it wanted to protect him. The Dark Dragon Hound sensed Sui Ping's hand touching its head and rubbed against it, woofing with joy. Stupid dog, didn't you already know how to talk? Say something to me. Wolf. Woof. Sui Ping was somewhat at a loss for words. He then smiled and burst into laughter. He hugged the Dark Dragon Hound after he had his fill of laughter. He said in a low voice, protecting yourself in the future is the most important thing, got it? Woof. The Dark Dragon Hound opened its mouth gently. After sending the hound to rest, Sui Ping marched to the battlefield with his sword. He released such an intimidating aura that all the wild beasts running in the alleys and streets trembled with fear and collapsed on the ground. Suaping darted bursts of energy towards every wild beast he saw on the way. Screams of wild beasts were heard in every direction. The low-rank wild beasts were still on a killing spree in some of the unsecured areas. They were quickly finished off. The intelligence and command centers had gone back to work, delivering the intelligence related to the battlefields and mobilizing the battle pet warrior legions. The war was over half an hour later. Suaping, Qin Duhuang, Yan Yuxiu and the other legendary warriors had worked together, eliminating all the wild beasts rampaging behind the defense lines. Corpses and blood of those creatures were found in every street and alley. Many base cities were dilapidated and would have to be rebuilt. However, there were no scary beast roars in the ruins anymore. Peace had been restored for the moment. It's finally over. Yan Yuxiu, Shui Yunzhen and the others looked at the ragged cities as well as the piles of bodies from up above with heavy hearts. We must thank him. This place would have probably become a nest of wild beasts if not for him. Shui Yunzhen looked at the horizon, where a man was quickly rushing forward. It was none other than Suaping. There was awe in everybody's eyes when they looked at him. All of them nodded. Yes, we must thank Boss Su. Boss Su is probably the only one who deserves to be called legendary. Now that this battle is over, I feel like I have to train in seclusion to reach higher levels, too. We've been relocated to a solar system in the middle of the Federation. If the spaceships can land, can we then go to other places? It's said that the Federation is very resourceful. Maybe we'll have a chance to reach higher levels. Everybody looked up at the many spaceships above them with glittering eyes. All of them looked forward to their future after surviving the disaster. Suaping returned to his shop in the Longjiang base city. As he made his way over, the battle pet warriors who were cleaning the fallen buildings and the civilians who walked on the street cheered, all of them waved at him when he flew past. Some of the ordinary people even dropped to their knees along with their wives and children as a gesture of gratitude. He had moved quite fast when he headed to the battlefront, but he didn't fly at full speed when he returned. He was overwhelmed by all the cheering, seeing how excited the people were. It was great that he didn't give up and chose to hide in his shop. He probably would have regretted it for the rest of his life if he would have given up. Even if he survived, he would have always remembered that he didn't try his best, wondering if he would have nailed it with only 10% odds if he had charged out with the special grade beast catching ring. Even though what came to pass didn't mark him as the son of destiny and the goddess of fortune didn't quite favor him at the critical moments, at least he wouldn't be regretful. He deserved whatever came to pass, whether he survived or died. Even if he got killed, he would have died as a man. Soon after, Suaping saw the Pixie Pet Store in the distance. Many people were standing near his shop. A lot of the survivors had also walked out of the safe area. After all, it wasn't comfortable to be all packed in one spot, and the disaster had already ended. All of them saw how Suaping slew the Lord of the Deep Caves. Those who stayed inside the shop were the cautious ones. They were finally relieved after seeing Suaping return, and everyone cheered for him. When they cheered, someone applauded, and the rest of the people soon followed. Pa, pa, pa. The applause was discordant, yet they surged like waves and echoed in the neighborhood. The 10 million people who had gone to the shop to seek protection didn't leave. They all acted as if Suaping were a king who had just returned. Some were embracing each other with hot tears in their eyes. They knew they had finally won the war. Victory had been achieved at a high cost. They had been wallowing in despair as they only waited to be killed. They were ready to depart with their family and be torn apart by wild beasts. Only those who had experienced despair and devastation knew how moving and exciting the final victory was. Welcome back, Lord Legend! Welcome back, Lord Legend! Welcome back, Lord Legend! There was no telling who started it first, but 10 million people cheered at the same time, and their voices echoed throughout the Longjiang base city. Many people on the streets farther away came out of the ruins and looked at the source of the cheers. With excitement in their eyes, they supported each other and headed to the shop, ready to thank the Lord who had saved them. Some of the battle pet warriors who were responsible for rescue operations also heard the cheers. They were ecstatic as they looked at each other, then continued working even harder. "Welcome back, Lord Legend!" The cheers of 10 million people were cohesive and deep-sounding. The admiration conveyed through their cheers made Suaping's blood boil. While feeling deeply touched, he smiled and waved his hands. He tried to calm them down, since he felt the gesture wasn't necessary. However, more people were flying over from a distance. "Welcome back, Lord Legend! Welcome back, Lord Legend!" Those people were Yuxiu and the other legendary warriors. All of them were paying respects to Suaping on one knee, smiling while floating in the air. Suaping couldn't find words to respond once they joined the parade, but he became solemn again after seeing the sincere smiles on their faces. The titled warriors who were farther away were also approaching, followed by the battle pet warriors riding flying pets. All of them were cheering at the same time. Suaping was at the moment being lauded by tens of millions of people in the sky and on the ground. He was the focus of everyone's attention, the only king in the world. The beast tides were finished, and so was the cleaning work. All that was left was the rescue and reconstruction process. Order was restored behind the defense lines. Everybody hoped that Suaping could become the new lord of the blue planet with his supreme power. All the other forces were willing to listen to his command. The surviving humans on the blue planet were more united than ever after the recent joint defense and battle. Suaping then naturally declined their petition. He didn't have the time to work as a lord, at all. Besides, he wouldn't get paid as a lord, although nobody could afford his pay. Anyway, the most important thing was that he didn't have time. He had to run his shop and work for the system. He was just a poor worker. A full-time job was already busy enough. He would be swamped if he got a part-time job. However, Suaping was unable to get away in the end. He finally got a benefit after much bargaining, which was that he would only be a nominal leader, who would not take part in the actual administration work, such as the reconstruction, resource redistribution across the 5 continents, along with other miscellaneous stuff. If anyone asked him why, he would simply say that he was too busy. Everybody had to give up after seeing how determined Suaping was. Nai Feng finally recovered some of his strength. The first thing he did was to restore his former youthful face, just like when he made his appearance. Even though he had been brutally defeated and humiliated by the Lord of the Deep Caves in the battle, he was still reputable as the first-generation Tower Master, showing enough capabilities during battle. Therefore, Nai Feng was appointed as the Director of Interstellar Affairs by Suaping. Yes, a director. After all, the cute blue planet had just been relocated to a new solar system. Nai Feng was the only suitable person who could take care of the diplomatic issues with the solar system. He was very familiar with the federal laws and knew a thing or two about the major solar systems in the Federation. He was the only civilized person among a bunch of bumpkins. On the other hand, Ji Yuanfeng returned soon after the beast tides were cleared from inside the defense lines. The intelligence he brought back made everybody feel relieved. No terrifying wild beasts had appeared in the depths of the corridor. The ceiling formation that Suaping mentioned was also gone, only some of the remains were left. That could only mean that the earthquake caused by the broken seal was related to the planet's leap to another place. It didn't set any horrifying wild beasts free. The news also raised a round of cheers. Suaping, Yuxiu and the others were completely relaxed. Nobody wanted to fight anymore. After all, the casualties were too severe. The human population on the blue planet had been reduced from 10 billion to 1 billion after the war against the beast tides. Half of the survivors behind the defense lines had also been killed. It had truly been brutal. No war in the history of humanity had been as bloody. That war would definitely have a chapter in the history books, forever remembered as a warning for future generations. As the war was over and the reconstruction began, So Ping returned to his shop and placed the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound in the nursing pens so that they could treat themselves. Meanwhile, the system urged So Ping to move again. The host must move to an area with tier 3 or above prosperity in this solar system within 72 hours, or all the remaining energy in the shop will be deducted, and a migration will be forcefully carried out. The system was once again using a mindless robotic tone in So Ping's head again. Can't I just stay here? Considering our planet's new popularity, this shop will surely be crowded with customers in the future. So Ping didn't want to leave. It wasn't easy for him to turn his store and himself that famous. He could make easy money in the future, nobody would question how expensive he charged for a pet. Please uphold the virtues that a boss and a shopkeeper should have to make money. So Ping quickly rolled his eyes. Damn! Even exploitation sounds justified. Who said that I want to make money? I just want to relax. I only want enough money for my own needs. I'm making money because you're forcing me to. That being said, So Ping knew that it was important to make money, because money was useful everywhere, especially so when it came to the system. He might have already developed a star-state pet if he had collected enough money to upgrade the Chaos Spirit Pool for incubation to level 5. He could have always gotten one as long as he had enough energy. Who said money couldn't change your life? That's only because you didn't spend enough. I'm glad that you know it. It was obvious that the system had peeped into So Ping's mind again. So Ping rolled his eyes and said, even though the blue planet has a poor economy right now, it is still developing. I believe it has a huge potential. Nai Feng mentioned earlier that a lot of tourists may come now that we're connected to this solar system. The economy will be boosted by tourism. That's your business. The system showed no interest in So Ping's long-winded speech. It said, I only know that this planet is in the least prosperous area of the solar system. You won't have to relocate if you can improve the economy of this planet to tier 3 in 72 hours. So Ping was speechless. The guy was not to be persuaded, at all. It made sense. The system's brain would have been rusted by then if it could be persuaded with that much. I suspect that you're subtly cursing me, said the system with a cold voice. Isn't it obvious? First warning. Wait, I was saying that I didn't do that at all. How can you suspect me? The system snorted. So Ping heaved a sigh after joking a bit and asked, what do you mean by a tier 3 economy? How far away is the blue planet from that status? The planet currently has a tier 5 economy, which is the lowest tier there is. A tier 3 economy is about 1008 times more prosperous, replied the system indifferently. So Ping was at a loss for words. A 1,000-fold gap was too much for So Ping. It meant that he definitely had to relocate the store to another planet. A lot of faces popped up in his head when he thought he had to say goodbye to the blue planet. He absent-mindedly gazed at the scenery outside of the shop. Life was like a wheel that continued rolling forward. You would always meet new friends as you rolled, and would have to bid farewell to old friends. Departure was a routine in life. So Ping sat alone for a long time and heaved a sigh. He had to quickly settle things on the blue planet if he was to leave. He also needed to confirm if the many spaceships outside the atmosphere were as friendly to the blue planet as Nai Feng claimed. After all, it would be the humans on the blue planet who would suffer if a conflict were to burst out. After leaving the shop, So Ping found Nai Feng giving commands in the intelligence center. Brother Su? You came right on time. We're trying to reach out to the foreigners. On the other hand, you're the Lord of the Blue Planet now, you'll need to register the Lord badge with your soul and astral power later. That way you'll be the official Lord of the Blue Planet. All taxes and revenue that the Blue Planet earns in the future will partly be allotted to your personal account, said Nai Feng in a quick burst upon seeing So Ping. He wasn't the least bit arrogant in front of So Ping, simply calling him Brother Su. After all, So Ping had killed the Lord of the Deep Caves and showed more strength than his own. Even though he was only a legendary warrior, it was his combat ability what really mattered in the end. Nai Huofeng respected him even more because of his horrifying combat ability while he was a major realm lower than him. A Lord Badge. Sui Ping raised his eyebrows, as he had never heard about it before. This is it. Nai Huofeng took out a brilliant green crystal badge, which was radiating like a secret treasure in an eye-catching way. This is one of the Lord Badges that the Federation distributes to legal planets. They're very important and cannot be disrespected nor destroyed. Even a Star State expert will be punished by the Federation if they ruin a Lord Badge. Nai Huofeng coughed and said awkwardly, although the Blue Planet is indeed part of the Federation, the solar system we were in was neither resourceful nor prosperous. It was far away from other solar systems, so trade was basically impossible. It almost became an isolated planet with only aboriginals as time went by. Ours is a Tier 5 planet according to Federation standards. The tier classification depends on the planet's economy, the number of experts registered on the planet, and many other factors. He looked at the spaceships above the atmosphere through the window and said, now that we've come to this solar system, we can make use of the local economy to boost our own. We'll be able to file an application to be a Tier 4 planet if we can attract 10 Star State experts to register on the Blue Planet. As he talked, he suddenly added with some regret, I could raise the planet's tier on my own if I could become a Star Lord. Then, if I make friends with some Star State experts, it can even be upgraded to a Tier 3 planet. Sui Ping blinked after listening to this. What Nai Huofeng said contained too much information for him to digest. Is there any difference between a Tier 5 planet and a Tier 4 one? Asked Sui Ping. Stunned for a moment, Nai Huofeng noticed Sui Ping's confusion and instantly said with a smile, of course there is. The difference is quite huge in fact. For example, only 1% of the revenue on a Tier 5 planet will go to your pocket, 50% must be submitted to the Federation. You can get 5% and only have to submit 40% on a Tier 4 planet. The remaining 55% of the revenue can be used for planetary construction or other missions. All in all, more resources will be at your disposal. Money is just one of the benefits. Level 4 planets may ask the Federation for reinforcements in times of crisis, such as the previous beast tides. Nai Huofeng's expression slightly changed as he talked, but he went on quickly, we could have asked the experts of the Federation to help in such a catastrophe. They could have easily resolved the problem. In addition, Tier 4 planets can hire foreign experts as mercenaries. It means that we can invite other experts to our planet. They can enjoy the benefits of our planet without becoming citizens, and their benefits on their old planet would still be valid. They would only need to work for us whenever we're in danger or in need. All in all, there are plenty of benefits. You'll get to know them later. Sui Ping didn't understand everything, but he did understand something. All in all, improving the planet's economy and the number of experts were the most important factors. There would be a lot of benefits to be had. As for the specific benefits, they wouldn't be revealed until later. However, as he thought about his impending departure, Sui Ping looked at the Lord Badge in Nai Huofeng's hand and shook his head. I don't think I can be the Lord. After a momentary daze, Nai Huofeng asked, why not? I will soon be leaving the Blue Planet. Sui Ping shook his head and said, it doesn't make sense that the Lord of the Blue Planet isn't living on the Blue Planet. You can work as the Lord, or you can give the position to someone else. Nai Huofeng was stunned. You're leaving. All the staff in the intelligence room stopped whatever they were doing and looked at Sui Ping in shock. Nobody could have survived the war without Sui Ping. They considered Sui Ping to be their savior and a god on the Blue Planet. He was also the only Lord of the Blue Planet that everybody acknowledged. That's right. I'm going somewhere else. Sui Ping nodded, not surprised by everybody's reaction. Nai Huofeng slightly opened his mouth, intending to say something. Then, he suddenly realized that Sui Ping was too talented to be confined to their planet, he would grow faster in other places. If someone had the chance to become a Star Lord, would the position to lead a minor planet really be attractive? He looked at Suoping with admiration and conflicting feelings. To abandon the supreme power of a planet required great determination. Suoping's decision to abandon that power for greater achievements in cultivation moved him. A real expert should be just as focused as Suoping. If you were distracted by other stuff all the time, how could you grow and become stronger? As he thought about that, Naihuo Feng suddenly realized that he had paid too much attention to the unimportant stuff. He had plotted against the Lord of the Deep Caves because he wanted to become a Star Lord after enslaving it and making it his pet, as well as absorbing the astral power that had been sealed for 1,000 years. With that he could upgrade the blue planet from Tier 5 to Tier 1. Once that was achieved, being the Lord of the blue planet, he would become a dignitary even in a federation filled with experts. However, was that truly important to a real cultivator? Respect, admiration, and praise. They were just superficial things. All his plots had failed in the end, and Suoping took advantage of the situation. The humans of the blue planet had almost been wiped out because of his mistake. He might have grown to a higher level if he would have cleared the deep caves without concocting any schemes and explored the Federation 1,000 years earlier when he reached the star state. Fame was just a burden. Real experts should follow their hearts and explore the universe without being bound by anything. Naihuo Feng felt like the mist before his eyes had been cleared upon thinking all of this. "Thank you, Brother Su," Naihuo Feng said to Suoping solemnly and clasped his hands in salute. "Suoping, I was just being nice. You're really aiming to work as the Lord? You've been thinking that for a long time, haven't you? Finally exposed. You can take over as the Lord since you're willing." Suoping didn't think too much of it, as Naihuo Feng had the people of the blue planet on his mind even if he was stupid sometimes. He was more or less qualified to be a lord. Suoping couldn't find other candidates anyway. Both devotion and cultivation were important for a lord. Yan Yuxiu and the others' levels were too low. They had also been defending the deep caves for years and probably didn't know the first thing about administration. Naihuo Feng was stunned by what Suoping said. He instantly realized he had been misunderstood and quickly waved his hands. "Brother Su, that's not what I meant. I don't intend to work as the Lord. I think you're better suited for the position. I need to learn from you and pursue a higher truth, so that I can become a Star Lord sooner." Suoping was startled. "Shoot! So, you're also planning to run away? Who will administer the blue planet then? Besides, I have good reasons to leave. I need to make money. Why are you suddenly set on a lofty search for truth? Can't you just stay home?" Suoping became angry and cold. He said, "Brother Nai, you were the one who caused the mess on the blue planet. How can you run away? You'll have to wait until the blue planet is stable again before you think of leaving. Besides, I can't be the Lord. I must go because of some pressing matters." Naihuo Feng was confused when Suoping suddenly became furious. "What did I say? Wasn't I flattering you? Why are you angry?" "Well, Brother Su, don't get angry. I'm not leaving just yet. After all, I don't know which solar system we have jumped to, and we're still trying to communicate with them. I will also take responsibility for the mess I caused. Nevertheless, you still have to be the Lord." Naihuo Feng said with a bitter smile, "All the people on the blue planet only acknowledge you as their Lord. It's fine if you go, you can leave a representative behind. All you need to do is collect money every month. You can always come back if something big happens." "Can I really do that?" Suoping was stunned. "Wouldn't I have to stay here if I become the Lord?" Naihuo Feng quickly shook his head. "Some star state experts have bought multiple planets and are lords of all of them. They can't stay on all the planets at the same time, can they? You're only needed for serious matters. You can always take a spaceship back and handle them if you're not too far away. It's very flexible." Suoping patted his head, realizing that he was being stupid. "That's true. The system asked him to relocate his shop to a Tier 3 area in the system, but it didn't forbid him from coming back. Couldn't he return anytime on a spaceship if he was in the same solar system? Okay then. Suoping quickly dropped the idea of giving away the planet's lordship upon realizing that it could give him easy money anyway. Even though the money couldn't be transformed into energy points for the shop, it could still be used in reality. He would be happy to keep it in his pocket. Nai Huofeng and the staff were relieved after seeing that Suoping was no longer shirking the responsibility. They felt reassured as long as Suoping was there. Suddenly, a beep came and someone exclaimed, "My lord, a new message. We just cracked their communication and received their signal." Both Suoping and Nai Huofeng were stunned, both turned to look at the screen. Upon receiving Nai Huofeng's permission, the man instantly played the signal and transformed it into the blue planet's tongue. It was a middle-aged man's voice. "Anyone there? Reply if you got this message. We are the defense troops of Miso, a Tier 4 planet in the Sylvie solar system. We mean you no harm." The Sylvie solar system. Nai Huofeng was rather stunned to hear that. Suoping asked, "What's wrong? Do you know about this solar system?" Nai Huofeng became excited and nodded. "We're truly lucky. Do you know that the Blue Planet has been sending its top talents to study abroad in the Federation? All of them were sent to the top universities in the Sylvie solar system." Suoping was dazed for a moment, he then remembered the visitors from the Federation not long before. However, he remembered that the tower had said that some of the visitors were Star State warriors, but they didn't bother helping their blue planet. He became cold after being reminded of that. "Now that we've come to Sylvie, it'll be more convenient for our talents to study abroad and return after they graduate. We've sent a lot of young geniuses over the years. They will surely be very excited to know that our planet has leaped to this solar system." The more Nai Huofeng talked, the more excited he became. Suoping frowned and asked, "Why are the geniuses of the blue planet sent there?" "So that they can reach the star state." Nai Huofeng nodded and said, "Of course. It's very hard to reach the star state on the blue planet, where the astral power density is low. The higher level you reach, the denser astral power you'll need. You would have to refine and compress it if it's too thin, which takes time. Your life will be too short if you don't reach the star state. The Fate State warriors will eventually lose their vigor when they're 1,000 years old, and their astral power perception will be significantly weakened. In short, you can hardly make another step after you turn 1,000 years old, unless you're extremely lucky." Suoping was silent. He was aware of that. After all, he had learned some useful things from Joanna, apart from all the chit-chatting. In the past 1,000 years, Nai Huofeng and the Lord of the Deep Caves were the only two that had risen to the star state on the blue planet. The odds were too low. "Have any of the geniuses returned these days?" asked Suoping. Nai Huofeng was stunned and replied with an awful expression, "The journey to the blue planet is too far. They're incapable of returning unless they reach the star state." "So, none of the geniuses that were sent managed to advance into the star state?" Suoping raised his eyebrows and realized something when he saw Nai Huofeng's face. Were those people unwilling to return to their small corner after seeing a vaster world? Still, don't forget that it was home. Humans change. Someone more distinguished than your disciple could have shown up if you hadn't sent out all those geniuses and decided to educate some of them yourself, said Suoping coldly. Nai Huofeng was silent. He had thought of the same thing. So, the geniuses who had been sent later on had been carefully chosen. They were either grateful or had families that they couldn't abandon on the blue planet. However, nobody came back. Maybe. Nai Huofeng didn't refute Suoping's claim. He slightly shook his head and said, "Maybe there are other reasons. Maybe the competition here is more brutal and all of them failed." Suoping's eyes twitched, as it was indeed a possibility. However, he didn't believe that none of the geniuses sent out in the past 1,000 years had ever succeeded. But as he saw the expression on Nai Huofeng's face, So Ping chose not to say it, as he couldn't get anything from mocking the man. What happened in the past had already happened. What was the point of blaming them? He didn't know the specific reason, but in any case, they had some advantage since they were currently in a solar system that Nai Huofeng knew. Nai Huofeng looked at So Ping, who then raised his palms. He didn't know anything about that technology, nor was he interested in learning it. Okay. Nai Huofeng nodded. It could be deduced from the message that the people outside didn't know what was happening on the blue planet. The extraordinary energy that had facilitated the leap must have blocked their probing. It would be quite a mess if they considered their planet as an undeveloped place. The worker looked at So Ping. After confirming that there was no objection, he nodded and said, "I'll have to invite some specialists." "Invite anyone you need," announced Nai Huofeng, waving his hand. "Yes, sir." While the reply was being prepared, Nai Huofeng took So Ping somewhere else and gave the Lord badge to him. "Brother Su, you can register now. I've already removed my information from it." The badge resembled a green crystal. He infused it with astral power and a dark vortex popped up. A bizarre absorption power was then spread out. "You only need to imprint your soul and astral power in it," said Nai Huofeng. So Ping examined the dark vortex and found no danger. Then, he finally injected his spiritual and astral power into it. The dark vortex disappeared after the injection. So Ping instantly felt as if something was linked to his head. "Lord of planet number 800 and 1013 in the galaxy is applying for registration, recording your soul and astral power, recording completed. Please enter your name." Several emotionless, mechanical voices echoed in his head. So Ping almost thought that the system was messing with him, but then he realized that it wasn't. The system was quite good at playing dumb, whereas the voices he had just heard were more like genuine mechanical voices. "The planet number is 801013. So Ping looked at Nai Huofeng, confirming that he wasn't hallucinating. "Yes. Did it ask you to enter your name?" "You can enter anything," said Nai Huofeng with a smile. "The Lord Badge is a multi-function tool. It can work as a map in an interstellar exploration, which records almost 90% of the Federation. On top of that, it's also a receiver. Once you're registered as a Lord, you can use the badge to enter a virtual world exclusive to Lords. You'll be able to meet the Lords of other planets and make friends with them, share intelligence or even practice with them in the virtual arenas." He looked at the green crystal badge affectionately. So Ping was slightly surprised. "What's this technology?" He didn't know anything about it. "It's possible to make friends with other lords and practice with them in a virtual world? All with this tiny badge? Have you practiced with anyone before?" asked So Ping curiously. Stunned, Nai Huofeng blushed and coughed. "I was merely at the fate state when I became Lord of the Blue Planet. All the other lords I encountered were of the same rank, but they were unwilling to practice or talk with me after they learned where I came from. Otherwise, I would have invited them to modify our planet." So Ping was enlightened by this. After considering what the man said in the end, he remarked mockingly, "Even if you had managed to make friends with them, you probably wouldn't have invited them, would you? Didn't you keep the Lord of the Deep Caves for yourself?" Stunned for a moment, Nai Huofeng said with a bitter smile, "Brother Su, would you please let the matter rest? I gave you the astral power that had been accumulated for 1,000 years. You were the one who got to enjoy everything. I got it because of my own ability. You didn't give anything to me." So Ping snorted, unwilling to owe him a favor. Nai Huofeng's lips twitched. He couldn't argue with So Ping, as the blue planet would have been destroyed without his help. He heaved a sigh. So Ping didn't press further since the latter didn't reply. To change the subject, he asked, "Then, did you make no friends even after you reached the star state?" Nai Huofeng said with a bitter smile, "Those in my level never bothered to talk to me. The cultivation techniques on the blue planet are too weak, equally ranked experts in the Federation can crush us. I couldn't even resist one attack from any of the star state experts. They can even execute void state legends while only being in the ocean state. He sighed and continued, that's the reason why I sent out the geniuses of our blue planet, hoping they could fetch the powerful techniques of the Federation. So Ping raised his brows and snorted. You're simply too weak. It's not unusual for someone in the ocean state to kill a void state enemy. Nai Huofeng was stunned for a moment. He finally realized he was only embarrassing himself by talking about that in front of Suo Ping. Suo Ping had killed a star state foe while he was only a legendary warrior. Why bother talking to such a monster? By the way, what's your registered name? Asked Suo Ping. Nai Huofeng was quite gloomy, but he casually flashed a proud smile when he heard the question. Your name must be special, so that it's easier for others to remember you. My name was Fire Cloud Evil God. How does it sound? Why didn't you call yourself James Bond? Suo Ping was speechless. He wondered about what name to choose. He would rather not use his real name if it wasn't necessary. It was always great to keep a low profile. He pondered over calling himself Yan Zhuangying One. Suo Ping quickly remembered that his main purpose was to make money. Everything he did should aim toward that purpose. His name could be the best self-advertising tool when he met other lords. Then, should I name myself? I'm a pet raiser and seller. Contact me if you're interested. He was dead serious about it. He focused his attention on the virtual dialogue box in his head and entered the name. The nickname is available. Confirm. Yes. The registration was completed. Suo Ping was quite delighted. He had worried for a moment, wondering if the name was too long. It seemed that many people in the vast Federation had long names. Personal information checked. Lord of planet number 801,803 in the galaxy, I'm a pet raiser and seller. Contact me if you are interested, has been registered. The information about the planet is as follows. Please confirm. Very soon, the basic information of the blue planet popped up in Suo Ping's head. Blue planet, Tier 5 planet. Coverage. Ocean coverage. Mass. Average astral power density. Population. Suo Ping's head was dizzy after a quick glance, so he decided to review the information later. The population on the chart was still 13.2 billion, which was still the number before the catastrophe. A fine or even more severe punishments might be imposed if the Federation ever got to inspect the information. How did it go? Did you complete the registration? What's your nickname? Asked Nai Huofeng curiously. Suo Ping shook his head. It's a long story. Nai Huofeng was somewhat confused by such a reply. Suo Ping was the only one who could read the newly registered name. After finally hearing the name, Nai Huofeng was so shocked that 3 eggs could fit in his mouth. Be brother Su, are you kidding? Do I strike you as the comical sort? Asked Suo Ping. Nai Huofeng was at a loss for words. Comical my a. You're the lord of the blue planet, and yet you chose such a stupid and demeaning name. Do you not have any face at all? What will other lords think when they see that? Suo Ping knew what was on Nai Huofeng's mind the moment he saw his expression. He patted the latter's shoulder and said, You haven't realized that the face is just a superficial thing. Nobody can slap it if you don't have one. Don't overthink. That sounded all too reasonable and irrefutable. Nai Huofeng stood still with contorted lips for quite a while. It wasn't until a long time later that Nai Huofeng finally reacted. He gave a bitter smile when he saw how unconcerned Suo Ping was. Then came a sudden though. He wondered how the other lords would feel after being defeated by Suo Ping while he used such a stupid name. He couldn't help but grin at the thought of that. He could almost picture their weird expressions. I'm leaving in 3 days, so I need to say goodbye to other people. Suo Ping didn't waste his time and simply said, Inform me if you receive another message from those spaceships. Nai Huofeng came back to his senses and nodded. I'm on it. Suo Ping left the place and visited his friends. Although he might return, there was no telling when that would be. So Ping found Ye Wuxiu, Li Yuanfeng and the others and informed them of his decision. All of them were shocked, and could only ask for reasons. So Ping didn't tell them the details, they didn't insist after seeing that he was reluctant. Their feelings were all jumbled up. They eventually decided to throw a farewell party in his honor. Apart from Ye Wuxiu and the others, So Ping also saw a lot of familiar faces in the re-established Trainers Association behind the defense lines, but he didn't say goodbye to them. After all, he would come back sooner or later. It was pointless to say goodbye to them. Ye Wuxiu and the others, on the other hand, were the Blue Planet's top forces. It was important for them to know where their lord was. So Ping stared at the scarred land while floating high in the sky. He felt troubled as he saw the busy workers who were repairing and renovating the buildings. Departure was always upsetting. After gazing for a long time and finally calming down, So Ping returned to the shop and told his parents he had to leave. He couldn't tell them the real reason and had to come up with an excuse. His parents didn't ask further, given his lofty position and identity. They might not understand the things he saw from his perspective. Both of them chose to stay, they were unwilling to leave the Blue Planet and explore a new place. The mature couple preferred enjoying the familiar sceneries and to reminisce about the past. So Ping didn't want to take them against their will. As for So Lingyu, she didn't choose to go either, which surprised So Ping. He had thought that she would definitely insist on going out and seeing the world, considering her personality. He didn't expect that she would decide to stay. However, So Ping realized something when he saw her clenched fists. Is she unwilling to hold me back? His eyelids twitched, but he didn't say anything. He had already forgiven certain people, but they might not have forgiven themselves yet. So Ping made a silent promise, the day I really become strong, I'll give you a vaster and more splendid sky. Since he was moving to a new place, he dared not guarantee he could look after his sister, which made him even more anxious to become stronger. Apart from that, So Ping learned something else during their farewell. His father, So Yuanshan, turned out to be a heaven executor of the Longjiang base city. He had left home under the excuse of setting off to sea when he was actually helping with the Heaven Lock's defense in another city that was being attacked by the Heavenly King of the other world. So Pinnock had vaguely sensed the well-hidden energy in his father's body after he broke through. He was slightly surprised, but not too shocked, when he told him the truth. Before he left, So Yuanshan taught him the technique he used to hide his cultivation to So Ping. The name of the technique was Fog Concealer. It was an ancient secret technique that So Yuanshan had acquired from a mysterious realm. It could hide a person's strength quite effectively. So Ping didn't decline the offer, it came from his family anyway. Besides, the secret technique was quite remarkable. His senses had been keen enough, and yet he had never detected the energy inside his father's body. It was likely that not even Star State experts could notice this unless they examined him carefully. As for his father's real cultivation, he was at the void state, same as all the other heaven executors. So Yuanshan was the appointed heaven executor in Longjiang. There were warriors 2 generations earlier than him, however, they weren't related to his family by blood. They were just teachers. Every heaven executor was responsible for protecting the heaven lock in the dark, so Yuanshan had never revealed his strength unless it was necessary. So Ping's family wasn't well off because of this. However, So Yuanshan had secretly helped with So Lingyu's training and awakening. She had also inherited his training talent, although her potential wasn't truly remarkable to So Ping, she was already quite strong among her peers, her academy grades were excellent. So Ping was more or less relieved to leave them behind when he learned about his father's real cultivation. Time quickly went by. The unknown energy layer outside of the atmosphere was gone the next day, and a lot of spaceships then approached the Blue Planet to investigate. Just like before, the experts in those spaceships had been blocked by the energy layer and hadn't been able to see the planet's condition after it suddenly popped up in their vicinity. Since the energy had dispersed plus the light sent message they had previously received, they found that it wasn't an ownerless, primitive world, but a legitimate planet registered in the Federation. Many spaceships lost interest and flew away after confirming the fact. Some of the remaining spaceships filed requests to land on the planet, intending to find out more about their new neighbor. The planet was quite mediocre, based on the data collected by their spaceships. Suaping didn't reject their landing requests, which actually made him feel relaxed. It seemed that the federal laws were indeed being observed in most areas in the Federation. No experts could explore them without permission. The spaceships landed on the blue planet after Suaping's approval. Nihuofeng had already assigned an area that would work as a port for them. More than 10 Star State experts disembarked from the spaceships. Their intimidating auras made Nihuofeng feel nervous even though he was prepared. Led by Suaping, Nihuofeng, Ji Yuanfeng, and the other legendary warriors welcomed the visitors. The Star State experts contained themselves when they saw Nihuofeng. All of them were quite surprised to find that Suaping was the actual lord. Some of them straight out asked him why, yet Suaping simply responded with a smile. The experts from various planets lost interest after learning about the details of the blue planet, some of them leaving right away. After all, based on the data collected by their equipment, that planet should be a barren, underdeveloped place with little potential. It wasn't necessary to make friends with the locals if that was the case. On the third day, Suaping had entrusted almost everything to Nihuofeng and Ji Yuanfeng. He didn't know much about the Federation, so he practically delegated everything to Nihuofeng, except for the times he had to sign documents with the Lord's badge. Time went by quickly. There were only 2 hours left before he had to relocate. While standing outside the shop, Suaping bid farewell to his parents and Soling Yu. Only Tang Ruyan, Joanna, and his disciple, Zhongling Tong, remained inside the shop. Tang Ruyan worked there, and Suaping didn't intend to leave her behind. After all, the shop was in need of hands after the upgrade, and Joanna could hardly run the shop on her own. Zhongling Tong wanted to broaden her horizons and experience the more advanced pet training techniques in the Federation. Suaping was also glad to take her there. Suaping looked at Tang Ruyan and asked her, "Have you said goodbye to your family?" Tang Ruyan was looking outside the shop affectionately. After hearing the question, she withdrew her gaze and said, "Yes. I stepped down from the clan master's position and gave it to my sister." Tang Ruyu? Suaping remembered the girl's appearance, and how she had voluntarily stepped out of the safe area during the battle. He offered a silent nod in acknowledgement. It had to do with the Tang's internal affairs. He had no right to intervene anyway. "What about you?" "I already told my family," said Zhongling Tong, quickly standing at attention. "Okay," Suaping didn't say anything else but spoke to the system in his heart. "Prepare to relocate." "How will we do that?" "With my random relocation chance?" "Have you been trying to manipulate me into using up that opportunity?" "You're overthinking," said the system in disdain. "If I want you to do something, I can simply order you to do so. Do you dare disobey me?" Suaping rolled his eyes. The system was too shameless. However, his worker status didn't give him any leverage to resist. "You win." Suaping snorted. The system said casually, "After considering the shop's performance and current status, I've narrowed the range of your random relocation to economies between Tier 1 and Tier 3 in this solar system. The final destination will solely depend on your luck." Suaping asked, "Wouldn't people be scared out of their wits if they saw such a huge shop pop out of nowhere?" "Don't worry about that. I have the miraculous power to make everybody see this as if nothing is out of the ordinary," declared the system proudly. "Is that so?" Suaping was annoyed by how cocky the system was acting. "Fine. Let's just do it randomly. Please confirm." "Yes, I confirm. Stop bothering me with all the useless confirmations. The Pixie Pet Store is about to leap. This leap will consume one of the host's leap opportunities. Leap destination is being selected randomly. Leap countdown, 3, 2, 1.5. 1. 0.5, enough. Suaping was almost unable to tolerate the system's antics anymore. But soon enough, the countdown reached 0. Suaping had already unleashed his astral power, ready to endure an earthquake-like shift, just like the planetary earthquake they had just gone through. He also covered Tang Ruin and Zhong Tong with astral power. However, 1 second, 2 seconds, and nothing happened. Suaping was confused. He asked the system, "What about the leap? Has it begun?" "All done," replied the system casually. Shocked by the answer, Suaping looked at the door, only to widen his eyes. The Qin family building was no longer part of his outside view, instead there was a broad long street and pointy European-style buildings. The leap was already completed. Suaping couldn't help but blink. Why didn't I get to hear anything? There was no noise, at all. It was like waiting for an explosion with taut muscles, and then not even getting a fart in the end. What am I anxious about? Who knows, the peeper quickly replied. Suaping could picture an annoying man shrugging in his head after hearing the same old tune. He only rolled his eyes. At this moment, 2 voices came from outside. "Mia, do you want to buy a pet? There's a great pet shop around here and I know the manager. He can ask the master trainers to pick a pet for you," said a male voice. "That's unnecessary. I just got out to buy pet food, the kind you can find in any shop," replied a girl in an enthused tone. The girl was silent, as if wavering, but then she replied, "That won't be necessary. All the shops have legit licenses. I don't think they would sell dubious goods." Suaping then saw a girl enter the shop, tall and slim, with silver long hair. The girl had a pretty face. Her eyes were also silver, which made her look like a fairy. Behind her was a young man wearing a black tuxedo, an emerald watch, and a dark red pin on his chest. Everything that he wore was overly luxurious. Suaping was quite shocked, both because of the look of the alien-human pair, and because he had no idea what they were talking about. He secretly cried. There were too many planets in the Federation, each with its own language. How could he know the local vernacular? Ding dong! It's been detected that the host does not understand the local language. The host must purchase the common tongue package of the world he lives in to ensure the normal operation of the shop, as well as the local vernacular of the region where the store is located. Charge for the common tongue, 50,000 energy points. Charge for the local vernacular, 10,000 energy points. Your balance meets the requirement. Processing payment. Suaping then saw that his account was 60,000 energy points short. In the meantime, countless strange words and phrases flooded into his head. All those elements were part of the lexicon of a new and weird language. Still, Suaping felt that everything was awfully familiar, just as if he would have been learning it since childhood. Suaping was soon out of that information burst. He didn't know what to say about the considerable deduction on his account. 60,000 energy points equaled 6 million astral coins, which seemed to be a steep price for learning 2 languages. Nevertheless, it resolved an extreme urgency at hand. Weird. When was this pet shop opened? This is my first time seeing it. The decoration is not bad, remarked the surprised young man after looking around. He was quite astonished when he saw Tang Ruin. He didn't expect to see such a gorgeous woman in a random pet shop. As for Zhong Tong, who was next to her, she was also beautiful, but in a more cute and lovely way. The young man was reminded of the girl next to him thanks to her fragrance. He withdrew his gaze and presented a calm demeanor once again. Who's the boss here? The silver-haired woman looked around and checked the shelves behind the counter. Suaping was about to ask Tang Ruin to greet the guests, but then realized that she didn't have a system and it was likely that she had yet to process the sudden relocation of the shop. He had to personally greet them. Welcome. I'm the boss here. How may I help you? He spoke in the common tongue of the Federation without any accent, all because he noticed what language they were speaking. Tang Ruyan and Zhong Lingtong were woken up by Suo Ping, both of them widened their eyes in disbelief as if they had bumped into a ghost. Were their eyes deceiving them? They had been on the blue planet a second earlier, and yet they were already in a new place? They had imagined that Suo Ping would take them away on a spaceship, or in other ways when he said that they would leave the blue planet. Little did they anticipate that they would be relocated along with the shop. What kind of marvelous power is this? We didn't feel anything at all. Tang Ruyan ran to the door, astonished and excited as she looked at the street outside the shop, which was completely different from before, and the two aliens who had just entered the shop. Her mouth was wide open, all because of such a wonder. The neighborhood had completely changed. The buildings and the sky were also different. A planet dozens of times larger than the moon could be seen in the sky. That planet didn't have any craters caused by meteorites, only green forests, blue oceans, and brown hills, which made it a planet highly qualified for inhabiting. Stumped for a long time, Tang Ruyan couldn't help but run back into the shop and start exclaiming. We left the blue planet just like that. So quickly? Oh my god, what kind of power was that? Tang Ruyan was so astounded that she screamed and hopped, as it was too hard to believe. The young man was slightly surprised by Tang Ruyan's lack of manners expected of a lady. It was unexpected to find that such a beautiful girl was actually a retard. The way she talked nonsense unceasingly was really stupid. Suo Ping also began to sweat when he saw how excited Tang Ruyan was. I know that the whole thing is hard to believe, but can't she just get herself together? She was his employee anyway. It was too humiliating. Coughing, Suo Ping looked at the customers and said, well, let's continue. Is there anything you need? Wow, what language are you speaking? I've never heard it spoken before. Is it an alien language? Asked Tang Ruyan in surprise after she noticed the way he talked. Suo Ping gave her a quick glance. Don't you see that I'm doing business? She wasn't helping at all. Was an employee supposed to do that? Tang Ruyan was all too familiar with Suo Ping that she immediately understood what he meant. She quickly stopped and stuck out her tongue. Mia was also surprised by Tang Ruyan's reaction. The girl is as beautiful as I am, but why is she so crazy? Once she heard Suo Ping's question, she withdrew her gaze and spoke to him with her usual nonchalance. I need a heaven frost crystal fruit. The older, the better. Suo Ping searched the counter and quickly shook his head. We don't have it at the moment. May I know what pet you need to feed? Maybe I can offer you suitable alternatives. Mia was stunned. She obviously didn't expect that such a popular pet food wasn't available in Suo Ping's shop. The young man also heard Suo Ping's reply. He chuckled and shook his head, before he said to Mia, let's go, Mia. This shopkeeper doesn't even know what the heaven frost crystal fruit is for. Let's just go to a bigger shop where we can talk with a more sensible owner. Mia, too, seemed disappointed and was about to leave. Suo Ping raised his eyebrows, and then the system's voice echoed in his head at that exact moment. Ding dong! It's been detected that the reputation of this shop has been tarnished and it's losing customers. Temporary quest triggered. Temporary quest, no orders shall be missed. Requirement, none of the customers who have entered this shop should be let go. Please make the customers stay and have them spend 10 million energy points in this shop. Prize, a middle rank guide to enlightening. Suo Ping's eyes glittered excitedly. It wasn't easy. It had been a long time since he triggered a temporary quest. He often got one when he had just opened the shop. The system would always feel affronted when the shop's reputation was tarnished or questioned. But then he would lose those earning opportunities when his shop became more famous and reputable. Little did he know that he would receive another temporary quest after he moved to a new planet. Let's go! Feeling excited, Suo Ping couldn't help but smile. He hurriedly stood in the way to prevent the two guests from leaving. Please wait a moment. Hey! Mia and the young man were both stunned by his actions. The young man frowned and snorted, "Do you intend to coerce us into buying things?" Su Ping dropped his smile, but he seemed as delighted as before. He shook his head. "No, I simply wanted to know what pet you're buying the Heaven Frost crystal fruit for. Maybe there are indeed alternatives in this shop. If you don't want any replacements, please take a short rest here, and I'll fetch a Heaven Frost crystal fruit for you immediately." Both of them looked at Su Ping, at a loss for words. It was already creepy enough that Su Ping seemed relaxed and happy when they declined his earlier offer. Besides, what Su Ping said made him sound even more like an illegal merchant. "How could you not know what pet it's for if you do have the fruit? You're going to fetch it immediately? Where? Are you going to find a fake one and fool us? How can you not know what pet it's for if you do have it?" Lane stared at Su Ping coldly but was happy on the inside. Su Ping's pestering had given him a chance to make himself look good. His earlier suggestion was shot down by Mia, but the current situation had just proven that he was in the right. They shouldn't have entered that shop to begin with. It would be hard for Mia to decline his suggestions again if they continued shopping. Then, he would buy some nice food for her in the shop he knew and make her owe him a favor. That favor could possibly move their relationship to the next level later on. Lane suddenly found Su Ping rather agreeable upon thinking about that scenario. Naturally, Su Ping didn't know what was on the young man's mind. He was quite alarmed when the guy suddenly became friendly, wondering if his handsomeness was even attractive to males after he became a legendary warrior. "It's really my fault." Su Ping ignored the young man and rolled eyes at him. He always despised those who weren't loyal to their partners. Besides, his target was the lady next to the guy. "I hope you can give me a chance. I'm sure you'll be satisfied. I will offer you a tenfold refund as compensation if the food that I sell you doesn't work for your battle pet," declared Su Ping. He couldn't say it was free of charge, it was the system's power. However, he could charge the customer first and then refund or compensate with his own money. His own astral coins couldn't be converted into energy, but they were just the same as the other astral coins in other people's eyes. A tenfold compensation. Mia was slightly stunned by Su Ping's confidence. He had struck her as a cunning merchant, but the confidence he displayed made her wonder. After listening to Su Ping's bold declaration, Lane sneered and said, "A tenfold compensation? You will only come up with all kinds of excuses if she does decide to buy it. Ms. Mia's battle pet is not your experiment subject. Can you take the blame if it gets hurt? Do you know who we are?" "No," replied Su Ping honestly, "but everybody who enters my shop is a customer. I will never disappoint as long as I'm allowed to satisfy your needs. You're Ms. Mia, right? Please give me a chance. You won't regret it." Su Ping stared at Mia solemnly. He was in no mood for jokes anymore, the quest would fail if they walked away. The prize was a middle-rank guide to enlightening. The guide he already had only covered an elementary level. The guide to enlightening was something that only a Holy Spirit trainer could have. A middle-rank one was clearly better. Mia appeared calm but was secretly surprised, seeing the firmness and determination in Su Ping's eyes. She could tell that his eyes were clear and sincere, even though she didn't know why he was so confident. "Humph, kid, do you know what you're talking about? Let me warn you, it's still not too late to apologize. I'll consider that nothing has happened if you do. Otherwise, I'll make sure that your shop is closed on this street and ban you from opening on this entire planet." "Do you believe me?" said Lane coldly. Su Ping turned around and looked at him. "No problem. I can close the shop if you're dissatisfied." A wild gamble. Lane also became gloomy when he heard such a response. Mia gazed at Su Ping thoughtfully. She didn't expect that the owner of the shop would go to such lengths for just a regular deal. He seemed to be too determined. Lane narrowed his eyes and said, "Do you think I'm incapable of doing that? Have you heard of my family name, the Ryans?" Of course it was the very first time for Su Ping to have heard that name, but judging from the young man's tone, it obviously represented a great power. Sui Ping nodded and said, "Like I said, I'll close the shop if you're dissatisfied." Lane was quite exasperated to see how poised Sui Ping remained after hearing his family name. Sui Ping's attitude made him feel like his family was insulted. "All right, I'll give you a chance," Mia interjected at that moment to interrupt their ongoing argument. She knew what Lane was aiming for. If he achieved his goal, she would owe him a favor, and she knew that those favors came with a price. "Mia." There was a slight change in Lane's expression after he saw her agree to the proposal. He was getting ready to persuade her. Mia shook her head. "I'd like to find out why he dares to put his shop at risk so willingly." The food she wanted to buy was clearly not nearly as important as Sui Ping's steak. Was it really worth it? Did the guy do that because he worried that they would tell everybody else that his shop was unqualified? But even if he got 2 negative reviews, so what? Every businessperson had been smeared at one time. Does he really have to try so hard? Her speculations and Sui Ping's stern attitude made her curious. Great! Sui Ping was finally relieved to see her change of attitude. Everything was fine as long as he was given a chance. He believed that he was able to satisfy them with the materials he could bring from the cultivation sites. "Do you want a replacement, or just the fruit?" asked Sui Ping. Mia shook her head. "Just the Heaven Frost crystal fruit." She was worried that something might happen if she used another material, especially when she would soon need it. Sui Ping had intended to recommend other pet foods from his shop that would produce similar effects. He could have offered some recommendations if he knew what pet she was trying to feed. However, Sui Ping held back since he wasn't seen as trustworthy at the moment. He could find a Heaven Frost crystal fruit for her if she insisted. Sui Ping had asked the system about pets that ate the Heaven Frost crystal fruit, right when he moved to stop his customers. However, the answer that the system gave him left him speechless. There were more than 100,000 pets that could eat the Heaven Frost crystal fruit. About 4,000 of them were more suitable for that food. The pets ranged from ancient times to this day and came from countless dimensions. How could Sui Ping ask for every one of them? As for the cultivation sites where those fruits could be found, the system listed several dozen of them, ranging from the lowest level to the highest. Entering searching efficiency as a parameter, Sui Ping eventually narrowed the list down to 7 cultivation sites. He decided to go with his gut feeling and chose the site named Frigid Dragon Prison. According to the system, it was a place that yielded cold spiritual plants. The Heaven Frost crystal fruit was hot inside and cold on the surface, and they were often found in that site. Once he made the decision, Sui Ping said to the silver-haired woman, "Okay, please wait for a moment in my shop. I'll be back with your order in 15 minutes, or maybe sooner." He looked at his shop and thought for a moment. Then he said, "I can ask my employees to entertain you in the virtual pet arena if you think that waiting is boring." It just so happened that his shop had just been upgraded. The virtual pet arena as a newly added module allowed players to fight using their battle pets in the virtual world. Players could scan and import their battle pets to detect their shortcomings during battle. They could also practice with others who had battle pets with the similar stats, in order to increase the battle pet warrior's commanding and fighting skills. Nobody would be hurt in the process. Mia was stunned for a moment after hearing what Sui Ping had said. She was intrigued by the offer since she was reminded of her upcoming battle. "Okay. Do you have a port?" "Yes." Sui Ping instantly extended his hand and ushered them to the virtual pet arena. The arena was connected to the main hall of the shop and the exhibition room was in the room. However, there were no battle pets in the exhibition room. All the pets that Sui Ping had captured had been sold out in the previous war. All that was left available was some pet food. Sui Ping led them to the virtual pet arena, where there were a lot of interactive helmet-like devices. "Tang, play with them in the virtual arena. This is also a chance for you to improve," Sui Ping said to Tang Ruin behind him. Tang Ruin was stunned for a moment. "But I don't understand their language." "Do you actually fight with your mouth?" said Suaping angrily, I'll sign you up for a language class when we're free later. Tang Ruyan said prudently after giving a quick glance at Mia and Lane, those two people are legendary warriors, aren't they? Suaping nodded. Both Mia and Lane Ocean State warriors, he had noticed that the moment they entered the shop. However, he had seen so many of their rank that he didn't consider them any different from titled warriors. Besides, legendary warriors weren't the actual big hots in the Federation. Don't worry. It's possible to lower her level to match yours in the virtual arena, Suaping comforted her. Tang Ruyan was no longer scared after hearing that. She would not cower from anyone with the same level. Of course, Suaping was an exception. This is rather fancy. Lane squinted as he saw the equipment. He was quite knowledgeable and could easily tell that all the interactive devices were quite advanced. Mia noticed that too. She blinked in surprise. It was obvious that Suaping had devoted a lot of money to improve this shop. He had built this shop at a huge cost, and yet he was gambling with it. She became even more curious. Just play here, said Suaping. Then, he suddenly felt as if he were talking to kindergartners. Mia also thought this. She frowned, then glimpsed at Suaping, but she didn't say anything, opting to simply look at Tang Ruyan. You mean her? She's rather weak. But that's fine, I can lower my level. Okay. Suaping then instructed Tang Ruyan, you can go there. Tang Ruyan didn't quite understand Mia, but she keenly noticed her indifferent eyes. Her womanly instincts led her to discover that she had been despised. How dare you? She was rather angry, but she didn't show it. She intended to vent her fury when they entered the practice layer. Suaping then configured the related devices for them. He was later relieved after they both entered the virtual arena. He then asked Zhong Lingtong to take care of them while ignoring Lane. After that he left and entered the pet room. The pet room was several times larger than before. The little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon were resting in a pair of advanced nursing pens. You're going out to train. Joanna walked out of an advanced nursing pen with glittering eyes the moment he saw him enter the room, eager to go back and check up on her subordinates. Suaping shook his head and said, I'm going somewhere else. Stay in the shop for now. Joanna pouted her lips, disappointed. She then sat back again. Suaping opened the pet storage and found one pet inside. It was the Ocean Sovereign. She was currently displaying her original look while being held captive. She turned out to be a freezing moon scale dragon with a star state bloodline. However, the Empress had obviously failed to activate the power of her bloodline, unlike the curse-winged beast which activated the demonic blood in its body while enduring a cruel environment, to later become the Lord of the Deep Caves. Not everybody who had a star state bloodline could reach the star state. Environment and resources were indispensable to improve one's cultivation. A fierce tiger would hardly reach adulthood if it starved every day. Even if it did, it would be a sick, weak tiger that probably wouldn't even have the courage nor the strength to beat a dog. The blue planet's barren environment had stunted the Ocean Sovereign's growth, despite her attractive body figure. Suaping decided not to kill her after he subdued her with the shop's defenses. He simply kept her in the shop's pet storage. He still didn't know what to do with her, though. Suaping would earn a lot if he sold her, but she had killed too many humans. He didn't want her to get away that easily. He shook his head and stopped thinking about the subject. He then decided to complete the current quest first. After summoning the little skeleton, the dark dragon hound, and asking both the Inferno Dragon and the purple python to keep nurturing themselves, Suaping communicated with the system, to the frigid dragon prison. It was an intermediate cultivation site with a low ticket fee. He could totally afford dying 100,000 times while in it. The energy was soon deducted, then a space vortex appeared in front of Suaping. Whoosh! Suaping stepped in. The familiar disorienting feeling came again. Suaping then found himself in a vast snowy world. When he opened his eyes, cold wind blew at his face, making all his pores shrink. He felt as if his bones were being frozen. It must be at least minus 200 degrees here. Suaping took a soft breath and felt how the cold air was stabbing his lungs like ice blades. Fortunately, he was soon adapted to the new environment thanks to his physical attributes and his resistance to low temperature. He looked around and saw snow and frost everywhere. That world was pure white. The pointed, snow-covered mountains that rose from the ground looked like intimidating sharp swords. The astral power density is similar to that of the planet my shop is at the moment. Suaping sensed that the astral power was 10 times denser than that on the blue planet, but not as good as that in the demigod burial. After all, it was an advanced cultivation site and a world of gods. Suaping didn't have much time, so he quickly looked around. He soon detected a certain group of dragons that were hiding in the thick snow. His senses were so keen at the moment that few wild beasts below the star state would be able to hide from him unless he acted carelessly. He was almost overflowing with energy, unleashing an intimidating aura once he merged with the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound. He stepped forward and appeared dozens of kilometers further away. It wasn't a flash move, but space teleportation. That trick was more complicated than a flash, but Suaping was performing it with ease at the moment. Whoosh! 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 Suaping stepped forward and quickly reappeared hundreds of kilometers away. He reached the edge of his perception range every time while his senses explored the areas like giant scanners. Hey! What a powerful dragon! Suaping suddenly detected the vibe of a brutal dragon underneath a mountain. It was several times stronger than the Lord of the Deep Caves. He gathered astral power in his eyes and looked ahead. He found a massive red-scaled dragon bound at the bottom of the snowy peak by black chains that penetrated its body. The other end of the chains were connected to the snowy peak, which looked like a sword that descended from the sky, stabbing the dragon in the chest and impaling it to the ground. There was a slight change in Suaping's expression, as it was definitely a horrifying star-state dragon. The strangest thing was that the dragon was releasing a scorching energy, in that frigid world, of all places. It was a dragon of the fire class. Who suppressed this dragon? Why was it imprisoned here? Suaping couldn't help but ask in his heart. It was quite shocking to see such a horrifying star-state dragon impaled to the ground. This cultivation site was crafted by a certain expert as a cage, replied the system in Suaping's head. The lava-scale dragons pissed off the experts above the star state. They will be suppressed here for all eternity. Even their offspring will be locked here too. Maybe they'll go extinct in 1,000 years. Suaping was shocked again. They would be suppressed for all eternity because they pissed off a strong character? Was this the power of the top experts? Suaping looked at them and then resumed his search for the Heaven Frost crystal fruit. Suaping saw many more star-state dragons buried under snowy mountains and bound by chains. One of them even had multiple mountains on its back. Suaping felt pressure just by looking at it. It was far stronger than the regular star-state dragons. Suaping didn't expect that the cultivation site would really be a dragon prison as its name suggested. Time zipped by. Suaping teleported again and again. He also saw a few unchained dragons wandering around. He chose to hide instead of fighting them, as he didn't have much time. 15 minutes outside were 150 minutes in the cultivation site, which was only 2.5 hours. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Suaping then finally found the Heaven Frost crystal fruit. Suaping recognized it easily, even though he had never seen it before. It was all thanks to the system's indications. Apart from the Heaven Frost crystal fruit, Suaping also found 5 varieties of pet food on the way. He didn't recognize them, but he felt that they were as good as the Heaven Frost crystal fruit. Job done. Time to go back. Suaping returned to his shop, unwilling to spend any more time at the site. Only 5 minutes had elapsed in the outside world. Suaping placed the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound in the nursing pens and walked out of the pet room. Once he went to check things in the virtual combat arena, Suaping saw that Tang Ruin and Mia were still fighting, with helmets on and eyes closed. However, Tang Ruin's eyebrows were furrowed, while Mia seemed calm. Lane was also close by, also wearing a helmet. There was no telling what he was doing. Suaping coughed and approached Tang Ruyan's interactive device. He pressed the notification button. She would receive an alert inside the virtual world, telling her that someone was calling her. Tang Ruyan opened her eyes soon after. She took off the helmet and angrily placed it back on the shelf. Then she rolled her eyes at Suaping. Suaping! Mia also took off her helmet, and so did Lane. Suaping realized that Lane had probably been observing the battle. Did Ms. Mia win? Suaping had easily guessed the result from Tang Ruyan's expression and was slightly surprised. Tang Ruyan had been tortured, well, trained, in his cultivation sites. She should have ample fighting experience. How did she lose? Your employee is not bad. She was only defeated 8 times in 5 minutes. It's a waste of her talent to be a shopping assistant. Mia rose calmly. Suaping, so, she's from the patronizing planet. That being said, defeated 8 times in 5 minutes? Suaping couldn't help but look at Tang Ruyan, wondering if she had been fighting with her toes. Tang Ruyan became even angrier when she saw his eyes. She was furious enough after being defeated in front of Suaping, not to mention that the winner was another woman. A woman could lose to anyone, but not to another woman. Why are you looking at me? You were the one who asked me to go there, snapped Tang Ruyan, venting her fury on Suaping. What frustrated her the most was that she couldn't find an excuse for her failure. Her opponent had fought while lowering to her level, and both had picked the same pet. Yet, she had been beaten with ease. She couldn't change anything even though she tried her best, which only resulted in slightly astonishing her opponent. She felt that she had been crushed. Nobody had humiliated her like that except for Suaping. Suaping forgave her attitude. He could see the frustration on Tang Ruyan's face. It seemed that certain battle pet warriors in the Federation were truly extraordinary. Like Nihua Feng had said, the Federation's Ocean State warriors could possibly kill the Void State ones from the Blue Planet. While Tang Ruyan had been trained, it was quite hard for her to fight an enemy above her rank. All in all, it was a good thing that she wasn't trained enough. He shook his head and asked Mia, if you haven't enjoyed yourself, Ms. Mia, should I ask another employee to practice with you? Mia raised her eyebrows and said casually, no need, your employee wasn't bad. Like I said, it's quite rare that she managed to only lose 8 times in 5 minutes. It wasn't bragging, she meant what she said. After all, her identity was too special. It wouldn't be bad either if other battle pet warriors could hold on for 30 seconds in a battle against her. However, Tang Ruyan had resisted for 1 whole minute in the first round. This was also partly because she wasn't familiar with Tang Ruyan and was trying to observe her, but that was still surprising enough. After all, Tang Ruyan was just a random employee in a random shop. It was truly a waste of her talent to work in that shop. Now that you're back, you must have found the Heaven Frost crystal fruit that I want, right? Mia raised her wrist and looked at the exquisite dark red watch. Only those who belonged to the upper class could tell how expensive the watch was, and the special background required to purchase it. Mia raised her eyebrows in surprise once she saw that only 7 minutes had passed since Suaping left. After all, the gamble was not a big deal to her, but Suaping had returned too quickly, even though his shop was at risk because of the bet. Wasn't he being too reckless? Chapter 726 Terrific. Suaping glimpsed at Lane but didn't bother answering him. He would throw the guy out if the latter rambled again. Every customer should be respected, but it was clear that the man wasn't intending to buy anything. He was asking to be beaten with all his criticisms. Here you are. Suaping took the 2 Heaven Frost crystal fruits out of his storage space. They were a pair of round, white fruits the size of melons. There was a layer of thin frost on their surface, with 7 circles of vague mist around them. It meant that both fruits were 7,000 years old. Well. Mia noticed the plummeting temperature, then lost her cool and widened her eyes with disbelief once she took a look at the heaven frost crystal fruits that Suaping was holding with his astral power. 7,000-year-old heaven frost crystal fruits? She had never seen fruits as large in reality. Her status had allowed her to see a lot of top pet materials, but mostly at the top auctions or in the magazines. They were almost invaluable. Two more than auction or magazine-worthy heaven frost crystal fruits were right in front of her eyes. They're both about 7,000 years old. Each of them is worth 6 million astral coins, said Suaping. You can ask your pet to try them first if you're unsure about their quality. Mia had recovered only to be shocked again. Wide-eyed and shocked, she asked, "6 million?" She felt that Suaping had misspoken. 6 million? How is that possible? Each of them is worth more than 10 million, and probably 70 to 70 million at auction. Suaping's offer was only 1/10 of the market price. Do you find them expensive? Suaping frowned. He knew that the heaven frost crystal fruits were effective and quite fresh. He would have marked them at a much higher price if the system hadn't thought so little of them. Mia. She gave Suaping a weird look, wondering whether the guy was truly ignorant, or something was wrong with the items. Cheap items were never of high quality, that was something everybody learned from capitalist exploitation. After all, none would willingly sell things at a loss. Those who claimed they did were actually making a fortune because of some strategy. Buyers might be wrong, but the sellers never were. Is there something wrong with your item? The nearby Lane was also stunned by Suaping's offer. He sneered and said, "Do you know what a 7,000-year-old heaven frost crystal fruit means? It's the most precious pet food in any shop. How could it be sold this easily? Besides, even if it was indeed sold, it wouldn't be this cheap. Didn't you say it wasn't in stock? And you found 2 of them, where did you get them? Did you synthesize them with something else?" Mia also turned to look at Suaping. She wasn't really fond of Lane, but he had indeed asked the same questions that she wanted to ask. Suaping turned cold after seeing their reactions. Regardless of being a businessman, he didn't have to beg other people to buy his stuff. His goods were authentic and sold at a low price. He had every reason to be angry since he was being suspected. Point out what the problem is if you're knowledgeable. If you're ignorant about it, just shut up. Suaping looked at Lane coldly and added, "Don't pretend you're a specialist asking away about everything you see. Everything I sell is authentic. As I said before, you can ask your pet to try them first if you doubt their quality. Show me evidence to back your claim if you notice anything wrong. Stop shouting and making random accusations." Lane was quite shocked. He didn't expect that the owner of such a little shop would dare to talk to him in such a rude tone. He had already announced his family name. Who on that planet could avoid being awed after hearing the Rein family name? Mia was rather astonished, too, obviously not expecting Suaping to challenge Lane like that. Suaping was speaking in such a rough manner as if he didn't consider Lane a big deal, at all. What is the background of this shopkeeper? Lane was seething since his initial shock. He said with coldness beaming out of his eyes, "Excuse me? Say that again, I dare you. I never repeat myself. Are you trying to cause trouble?" Suaping gazed at him coldly. Lane was about to throw a tantrum, but then his expression changed slightly as he glared at Suaping. He saw death and boundless coldness in Suaping's eyes, just like those in the eyes of veterans who had fought on desolate planets for years. No, even the veterans of his family that he had met didn't have eyes as horrifying as Suaping's. This person. While Lane was still in a daze, Mia promptly interjected, "Stop fighting already. I'll just check the fruits myself." She was afraid that Lane would get involved in a fight because of her. She was then surprised when she looked at Suaping. The plain-looking shopkeeper had suddenly released an intimidating vibe. She was also detecting energy waves in Suaping's body at the moment, which indicated that he was the same level as she was. Suaping also looked as young as her. Considering his manners, is he a junior of a major family who was gaining social experience here? She thought for a moment and then said to Suaping, my pet is a frost blood star dragon. It's rather huge. Do you have an open space where I can summon it? You can summon it here. There's a resizing mechanism in this shop, said Suaping. The system could help reduce pet sizes, even star-state behemoths would shrink and become little cuties while being in the shop. A resizing mechanism. Mia was even more astonished. That mechanism could only be implemented by those in the star state. It wasn't hard, but only the big shops could afford hiring a star state expert to do that. Yes. You can summon it here, said Suaping. Mia stopped thinking when she received permission and called her battle pet over. A space vortex appeared, a hideous dragon head that was covered in frost craned out. The dragon head was compressed, and the pointy horns it had were also shortened, making it look quite cute in the end. The frost blood star dragon, which was 100 meters long, appeared in the shop with a length of only 5 meters, but its aura was as cold and brutal as the original. However, the brutality in its eyes was replaced by eagerness the moment it saw the fruits being held by Suaping. Hungry. Hungry. I want to eat them. I want to eat them. Drool was overflowing in the dragon's mouth. It would have pounced to get the fruits if Mia would have given permission. Mia was also slightly surprised by her pet's reaction. It had never been as excited when she fed it fruits of the same variety before. Was that the difference between the 100-year-old ones and the 7,000-year-old ones? Mia instantly sent a message to her pet, asking it to taste and savor the fruits, not just gobble them down. Being honest, she wasn't quite convinced that Suaping could offer 2 perfectly aged fruits that easily. The frost blood star dragon was quite confused by her instructions, but it did realize that it had the permission to eat them. It quickly nodded in response. Any edible food was acceptable for the pet. Why bother with the taste? Human beings are truly troublesome, especially the females. Mia was obviously unaware that her pet had just complained about her. She gave it permission to move since it had behaved so obediently. Whoosh! Just like a starving cat, the frost blood star dragon pounced at the heaven frost crystal fruits in Suaping's hands. Suaping hid the second fruit the moment the pet was about to bite one of them. He offered one of them for the pet to check the quality. Its master had to pay the bill first if it wanted the second fruit. The dragon was exasperated once it saw one of the fruits disappear, but its fury was immediately thawed by the fruit in its mouth. Delicious! So freaking delicious! The frost blood star dragon was beyond delighted. It narrowed its eyes and enjoyed the moment as if it were lounging at a hot spring. The heaven frost crystal fruit soon entered its stomach after quickly chewing it. Dense frost anima flowed out of the fruit's pulp, the scorching energy at the core neutralized the extreme cold. The strange and balanced energy quickly circulated all over its body. The frost blood star dragon moaned comfortably, as if it were being massaged by countless little hands. The energy exuded by its body became stronger and stronger every time it moaned. The scales on its surface seemed to be covered in frost. The frost was soon melted by a scorching power that soon turned into steam. The frost blood star dragon looked different from before after the vapor was gone. Its silver scales were smoother and brighter, the dark red threads at the tip of its white, pointy horns were thicker than before. It wasn't a pure ice-class dragon, it had some boiling beast blood inside its body. It was for that very reason that the owner had to adhere to harsh feeding requirements. Still, its combat ability deserved its fastidiousness. It was one of the best dragons in Sylvie. Mia was quite astonished by the frost blood star dragon's change. A crystal bead on her watch suddenly began to glitter, transforming into a small device in her hand that looked like a square phone. She then opened the device and pressed a dark red button. Soon after, the frost blood star dragon appeared on her device. Her eyes were wide with disbelief after she saw the new data registered by the device. Only a moment had passed, and her dragon's p-value, which represented the amount of energy in the frost blood star dragon's body, had soared by 1.8. It meant that her pet's energy density was 1/3 higher than before. What did a third increase in energy density mean? It meant that the speed and power of its skills, as well as its senses and reaction speed, had been significantly improved. The food she usually gave her dragon could hardly maintain its energy balance. Some of the expensive food she would occasionally purchase could only increase the p-value between 0.1 and 0.3 at most. And yet, that fruit had almost produced a 2-point improvement. Apart from the p-value, the other indicators had also been more or less improved. Most importantly, the pet's body status had been qualified as terrific. That was the highest rating for a pet's body status, followed by spirited, excellent, fine, sick, wounded and hopeless. Mia had always taken good care of her battle pets and kept them in an excellent status all the time. They were occasionally spirited right after eating, or when they were anticipating it. The status of most pets since their owners didn't take good care of them lingered in the fine status. Lane finally recovered from his stunned status. He was rather gloomy after having been too frightened to talk because of Suo Ping's fierce eyes earlier. What made him feel better was that Mia had been completely distracted by her battle pet and didn't seem to have noticed his embarrassment. Seeing the surprise on Mia's face, he quickly asked her, then looked at Suo Ping coldly, "How is it?" "It's real." Mia was woken up by Lane but was still astounded. The examination report couldn't be wrong, which meant that the Heaven Frost crystal fruit that Suo Ping had just given to her dragon was not a fake one. It was the real thing. She had heard that a 1,000-year-old fruit was already capable of producing astonishing improvements. The 10,000-year-old kind were much more effective, they might even aid one's pets comprehend new skills or evolve. "I already said." "What?" Hardly had Lane opened his mouth when he realized what Mia told him. "It's real." "How is that possible?" The fruits that the store owner found in a matter of minutes were really 7,000-year-old Heaven Frost crystal fruits? Mia had already calmed down. She then remembered the second fruit which had been put away by Suo Ping. She quickly asked, "Boss, can you sell the other fruit to me?" Suo Ping relaxed after seeing that she had confirmed the fruit's quality. He no longer had to persuade her into buying. He said, "Okay. About the price?" "As I already said before, 6 million apiece," said Suo Ping casually. Mia didn't know what to say. She thought that he had previously offered a lower price so they wouldn't leave. It was rather unbelievable that he didn't raise the price at the moment. After a moment of hesitation, Mia reminded him, "The Heaven Frost crystal fruit is worth tens of millions." Her identity and her pride discouraged her from taking advantage of others. She was almost amused by herself when she said that. She would have never imagined that she would haggle with a merchant someday, and not to ask him to lower the price but to charge more. "I must be crazy. Tens of millions." Suo Ping's lips twitched when he heard that. He knew that it was definitely a loss if he sold the fruits at 6 million apiece, but the loss turned out to be even greater than he thought. Other shopkeepers made money happily every day, but there he was, suffering consecutive losses. "System, would you please stop being so unreasonable? These fruits are very precious. When I said it's 6 million, it's 6 million. This shop will never adjust the pricing," Suo Ping said to Mia after complaining silently. Mia was rendered speechless by Suo Ping's determination. Those who weren't in the know might even get to think that she had been driving a crazy bargain. "Come on, I'm asking you to raise the price. I'm going to feel uncomfortable if I buy them at such a cheap price." "Why don't I pay 10 million for each of them?" ventured Mia. "I said the price is fixed." Suo Ping didn't look happy, not because she offered more money, but because he was reminded of the pain in his heart because of her persistence. He wasn't interested in regular money. He wanted transactions that could be converted into energy points. Mia was at a loss for words, seeing how Suo Ping seemed about to blow his top. She had never seen a weirdo like him before. Having no other choice, she could only transfer 12 million to Suo Ping's account. Lane knew that there was nothing he could do even though he was fuming with anger. There was nothing he could criticize about Suaping's goods. He wasn't a trainer, so he didn't have the necessary knowledge to dig deeper. The offer to pay the bill was again declined by Mia. His mood took another dive. Suaping took out the second Heaven Frost crystal fruit and gave it to Mia after the money was transferred. Suaping made quick calculations related to the quest. 12 million coins mean 120,000 energy points after the conversion. I have to make her spend 9,880,000 energy points more. Mia smiled when she saw how happy it was. The pet had been very proud and was rarely as obedient in front of strangers. It was obvious that those treats were truly appealing. The Frost Blood Star Dragon moaned happily again. This time, to everybody's surprise, it underwent physical changes. A short dark red horn grew between the white horns. It was tiny, but quite eye-catching. Mia's and Lane's eyes twitched when they saw that, before Mia exclaimed in excitement, This is a starfire horn." Suaping also raised his brows in surprise. Apart from the dominant dragon bloodline, half of the Frost Blood Star Dragon's blood was beast blood. As a result, most adults of their kind only had the Frost Dragon horns. Only a minority of them were able to activate their beast blood and grow a starfire horn. Only the Frost Blood Star Dragons with starfire horns were considered to have the complete form, which would give them hope to reach the star state. Even though such dragons carried a star state bloodline, most of them could never develop a starfire horn in their entire lives due to poor nurturing, never reaching their full potential. The starfire horn has been activated. Mia was thrilled to see the Frost Blood Star Dragon become even more powerful than before. Those with and those without starfire horns were completely different. Lane was also shocked, but he soon came back to his senses and looked at Suaping, only to discover that he was still acting casual, not considering such development as a big deal. His eyes became solemn. The woman he was courting was being impressed by another man, which made him feel quite uncomfortable. The p-value has increased by 1.5 again. They were more than effective. I think it may go through a breakthrough if it takes another one. Mia read the data on the device excitedly and completely lost her cool. Her dragon had improved dramatically right when she was about to participate in a battle. Her purchase was truly helpful. She looked at Suaping with unusual brilliance in her silver, pretty eyes. "Boss, my battle pet. Thank you very much. We haven't introduced ourselves yet. My name is Mia. Mia Lefa." She revealed her family name. It was a name that had much more clout than the Ryan surname that Lane had announced. Lefa could inspire awe on that planet as well as those in the vicinity, all thanks to the master of the family behind the name, a star lord that reigned over a large territory. Suaping was new to the planet and didn't know what the name represented. He merely thought that the woman was sincerely intending to make friends with him. If that was the case, it would be easy for him to sell things to her. Suaping introduced himself. "My name is Suaping. My family name is Su, and my given name is Ping." Mia was slightly surprised to see how casual Suaping's was. She didn't know whether Suaping was only pretending to be cool, or if he was really that confident. In any case, she found the young boss rather perplexing. He had to be a genius to have reached such a level at such a young age. He was also quite generous, someone who didn't seem to be from an ordinary family. However, she didn't ask further. She had obviously been properly raised, and wouldn't pry on matters of a stranger she had just met. "In fact, the services offered by my shop are even better than the pet food," said Suaping. Since he had finally proven his trustworthiness, it was time to complete his quest. He preferred to encourage her to train her pet rather than to sell pet food to her. Training pets would be more profitable. As for the pet food, although he had made a fortune from the last trip, it was just a small amount of money. On the other hand, when it came to training, the cost to train a void state battle pet once could cost 100 million astral coins, and the professional training would be even more expensive. Is that so? Mia was rather tempted by what Suaping had just said. Her Frostblood Star Dragon's newly developed Starfire Horn attested to the food's authenticity, and that Suaping's shop was not an illegal place as they had speculated at first. "What services do you offer?" asked Mia curiously. Suaping smiled and said, "Pet training, pet selling, etc. However, my shop has just sold a batch of fairly good void state pets. No pets are available for now, but I can recommend pet training and nursing services to you." "You call pet nursing a service?" Mia flashed an intriguing smile. She wasn't surprised to hear that void state pets had been previously sold. After all, her origins were lofty and thus she had seen many things. Besides, some of the big shops on that planet even sold fate state pets. It wasn't really surprising. The pet training service was the basic service of a pet shop, and pet nursing was the basic of all basics. She was rather surprised that Suaping would recommend it to her. She thought that he would offer services such as pet beautification or tending. Those services couldn't help much with fighting capabilities, but they could increase the pet's intimacy and loyalty to their masters. There were also many people who had deeply bonded with their pets and were glad to have their pets enjoy life when they weren't fighting. Sort of. Suaping nodded. There were plenty of nursing pens in his shop anyway, and the advanced nursing pens would cost 100,000 astral coins per hour, which equated to 2.4 million astral coins in a day. If he took care of a few more pets, he would earn 10 million astral coins every day. If you're interested in the pet nursing service, the price is 100,000 astral coins per hour, with the minimum being an hour. Injured pets would recover after staying in the nursing pens, Suaping said. Also, your pet will cultivate and grow faster in the nursing environment. 100,000 astral coins per hour. Mia was quite surprised, thinking that the precious fruits were overly cheap and the nursing service too costly. Not even some of the big shops would charge this much. 100,000 astral coins for a day was already enough. Nursing only meant basic tending and feeding. Why would it be so expensive? Mia slightly shook her head and declined the offer. "My pet has to train with me soon, maybe some other time." It wasn't an excuse, although she was indeed considering making up for Suaping's loss in the Heaven Frost Crystal Fruits sale. She had to participate in a contest, and her pet had to train with her. There was no time for nursing. Suaping didn't insist on the matter. Short-time nursing might be effective, but it was hardly noticeable. After all, the odds of the advanced nursing pen granting a talent were only 1%. A pet would hardly perceive a talent if it only stayed inside the pen for an hour, unless it was unbelievably lucky. "Then, would you like to train your pet?" asked Suaping. "The pet training in my shop is quite effective. Your pet will grasp at least one new skill, or slightly increase its combat ability after each training session." A stunned Mia gave a weird look at Suaping and asked, "Are you serious? One training session would be enough to attain a new skill?" That was something that only a 3-star trainer or above could achieve. Hers was a void state pet. Although a 4-star trainer could take care of it, the effect wouldn't be as good, unless it was trained for a long time. "Of course I am," replied Suaping. "How long will the training take?" asked Mia immediately. "1 day." Suaping looked at her and added, "If you're in a hurry, half a day is probably enough." Mia looked at him with shock written all over her face, mouth wide. 1 day? Or half a day, if I am in a hurry? Do you think training equals showering? No trainer can do that in such a short amount of time. She would at first thought that Suaping was messing with her or trying to swindle her out of some money if he hadn't just sold her genuine Heaven Frost crystal fruits. "The normal training is faster," explained Suaping. The shop had been upgraded, and he could already train king-level pets. However, he had yet to unlock the king level's professional training because he hadn't trained any high-quality king-level pets yet. Once it was unlocked, he could charge 10 billion astral coins for each professional training session of king-level beasts. That would be 100 million energy points when converted, enough for him to upgrade the Chaos Spirit Pool. Mia's lips twitched. She found it impossible to remain calm in front of Suaping, who thought of such a rapid and effective way of training as normal. Then, what would the abnormal way be? Could it double the pet's combat ability? I suggest that you try and see if it's effective. As I promised before, I'll offer a refund if it's ineffective and you're not satisfied, said Suaping solemnly. Given the quest's reward, he had to be as persuasive as possible. Mia was dazed for a moment after hearing what Suaping had told her. She was feeling just like moments before. Is Suaping really serious? After staring at Suaping for a long time, she thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I can give it a shot, but I can only try with my other battle pet. It has just grown up and I want to see its performance in a real battle. I may have to use the virtual combat devices in your place." "No problem." Suaping nodded quickly. He didn't mind which pet he was going to train, money was what truly mattered. Roar! The short and cute tiger growled at Suaping when it saw the unknown human. Suaping reacted with a friendly smile. "What's the training cost going to be?" Mia was ready to pay. Suaping said, "Since it's a void state beast, the price is 100 million. 100 million. Even Mia was more or less surprised by the price. Lane, who had been holding back his anger all this time, sneered and said, "So, you'll earn 100 million for training the pet for one day? That's certainly some easy money. Although, 100 million is not a big deal to us." "Cut the crap if it's not a big deal, then." Suaping looked at him. "Don't be picky if you want to show off. Crush me with your money if you're as rich as you claim to be." Lane was stunned, his lips twitched with anger. It seemed that Suaping had no respect for him or his family. "Young man, watch your attitude," declared Lane coldly. He was from the main branch of the Lane family anyway. They may have had the same rank, but he had defeated too many opponents of his rank or even beyond. Suaping raised his eyebrows, wondering if he should really throw the guy out. "Okay, 100 million it is. The money will be worth it if the training is really as miraculous as you claim." Mia had been hesitating, but she then quickly chose to accept the offer once she saw that Lane was stepping up for her again. She preferred not to get involved with the Ryan family, which made things complicated. Suaping looked at her and nodded. "Okay." Mia then made the payment. "Please wait here. If you need anything." Suaping was going to say that they could talk to his assistant if they needed anything, but then remembered that Tang Ruyan couldn't speak the common tongue, at all. He then thought of Joanna, who was in the pet room. She had mastered the Blue Planet's language the moment she arrived. He wondered if she could grasp the common tongue just as quickly. "Wait a moment," Suaping said to Mia. He entered the pet room and said to Joanna, who was at the moment cultivating in one of the nursing pens, "A customer is here, and Tang doesn't speak her language. Can you keep her company?" "You mean the language that you've been speaking?" asked Joanna calmly. Suaping nodded. "No problem." This time, Joanna spoke in the common tongue of the Federation without any accent, which surprised Suaping. "I say, a god's aptitude is truly astonishing. How did you grasp it?" Suaping couldn't help but ask in confusion. Joanna said casually, "I've fought on countless worlds and heard just as many languages. This one is slightly complicated, but it's just rudimentary when compared to the language of the god race. I can also learn it easily with language proficiency. Of course, don't think it will be as easy for Tang, she's too untalented to learn the skill." Suaping was at a loss for words and suddenly felt pity for Tang Ruyan. She had just been crushed in the virtual battles and was then despised again by her co-worker. "She's so weak and pitiful." After slightly shaking his head, Suaping said, "I'm glad that you know it. I'm going somewhere else. Stay here and keep the customer company." Joanna looked at him and asked, "You don't need me to go with you?" "No. It's just normal training. I can take care of it on my own." Suaping chuckled. "Fine." Joanna was slightly disappointed, as she missed the demigod burial. Without further ado, Suaping took her to the hall. Both Mia and Lane widened their eyes in shock when Suaping took Joanna out of the pet room. Joanna's appearance was too alluring, her face was exquisite and flawless, her eyes were as deep and profound as the starry sky, and her hair was blonde. To top it off, she carried the unique aura of the god race. She would definitely be in the spotlight anywhere she went. Mia, Tang Ruyan, and the other women were all eclipsed by her. Lane, who stood next to Mia, was distracted for a moment. He had never seen a woman as beautiful as Joanna. If Mia could be compared to an angel, then Joanna would undoubtedly be a goddess who was a more sacred creature. She is Joanna, one of my employees. You can call her Anna, tell her if you need anything, said Suaping to Mia, dragging them back to reality. Mia was quite stupefied. Such a gorgeous woman is only an employee in Suaping's shop? The first employee she met who had only been defeated 8 times by her in 5 minutes was shocking enough. Still, this one was even more unbelievable. The woman could become a famous star across the universe by the sole virtue of her face. Appearance was the most important thing in any world. Even the unawakened women could make experts fall before them with nothing but their faces. I'm leaving, said Suaping. He then looked at the little cute tiger and gave a friendly smile. Mia was quite reluctant to withdraw her gaze from Joanna's face, for everybody was drawn to beauty in all its forms. She asked her battle pet to go with Suaping and be obedient. It wasn't the first time for the tiger to be trained. It soon understood its master's intention and followed Suaping, however unwillingly. Suaping took it to the pet room with a smile and then stuck a temporary contract to its forehead. After the training was over and the temporary contract was cancelled, the pet would forever be unable to say or what it saw in the cultivation sites or reveal it by other means. That was the restriction of the system. The tiger was stunned when the contract was stuck to its head. It seemed perplexed as it looked at Suaping. It had disliked and despised the stranger a moment earlier, but then it found the guy rather amicable all of a sudden. The beautiful woman it remembered seemed to be fading away. It kept on trying to remember, but the more it thought about her, the blurrier her face became. Okay, let's go. Suaping picked a middle-rank cultivation site. He also took with him the little skeleton, the dark dragon hound, the inferno dragon, the purple python, and the void bug he had captured in the demigod burial. Suaping had never found the time to train the void bug, but it had fed upon a lot of the beast kings he had killed. Thanks to this it had grown to the higher phase of the 9th rank. The little tiger became wary when it saw Suaping's other pets. It flinched as the 3 pets posed an intense threat in its eyes. It was jumpy, with goosebumps all over its body. Whoosh! The vortex was opened, and Suaping led them in, starting a fun journey. Outside the pet room Mia discovered, to her surprise, that her contract with her pet became faint when Suaping took the little tiger to the site. Something seemed to be jamming their mutual bond. She was quite surprised, as only a powerful blockage formation could have done that. Mia, that guy must be a fraud. Lane was still angry after Suaping left, but he kept a calm expression. He stood even more straight after seeing Joanna, feeling sorry that such a beautiful girl had been fooled into working there by Suaping. That man is unforgivable. Your pet may be weakened instead of strengthened if he pulls any tricks during the training. This would definitely not be favorable considering the upcoming contest. Lane brought up the matter Mia was most concerned about. He knew how much the ever-proud lady of the Lei family cared about the upcoming contest. It was of the utmost importance to her. He had bribed her maids, learned her schedule, and tried to help her with her pets for that very reason. He sincerely wanted to help her strengthen her pet, thinking that her gratitude after she won the contest would easily pave a way to her heart. Mia frowned in agitation. His words had struck true, since it was exactly what worried her the most. I've thought about it, but it's okay. Little White was wounded and has already been exposed to the public. People will take advantage of its weakness in the upcoming contest, so I don't intend to deploy it, said Mia calmly, frowning. Lane couldn't help but continue, But, Ms. Anna, are you really an employee in this shop? Mia interrupted him and looked at Joanna, visibly astonished. Even she, as another woman, found Joanna exceptionally attractive, but she wasn't jealous of her. Yes. Joanna nodded, neither too arrogantly nor humbly, then said, "Tell me if you need anything." She was already used to watching over the shop while Suaping was away. Tang Ruyan and Zhong Lingtong were both shocked to hear Joanna talk. Zhong Lingtong could still control herself, but Tang Ruyan exclaimed, "Why you've learned this bizarre language too? Since when?" Joanna glanced at her and said, "Is this language difficult? You're just too dumb. You." Tang Ruyan was mad and upset. She found that she was almost incapable of continuing as Suaping's employee if she didn't work harder. The 8 consecutive defeats she had suffered that day made her feel just as frustrated as when she had been captured by Suaping. She realized what she could do once she remembered her 8 defeats, then she wore a mischievous smile. She looked at Mia and was about to open her mouth, only to come up with nothing. She became depressed again. She had intended to provoke Mia into practicing with Joanna. She could never see through the latter, but she had to admit that she was wrong. She would feel exhilarated no matter which of them won. Unfortunately, she couldn't speak the language. How could she instigate a conflict between them? Tang Ruyan thought so hard that she unconsciously scratched her head. Mia looked at Tang Ruyan and remembered their recent practice. "Hey, are you free? Let's practice again." Ostval Kaf Yadsl Kaf J. Tang Ruyan looked at her in confusion. Joanna interpreted for her, "She wants you to be her sparring partner." Tang Ruyan instantly glared at her. "Tell her to get the hell out of here." Sparring partner? She wanted to get back at Mia, but she wasn't an idiot, she knew she couldn't catch up with the latter any time soon. She would only be crushed one more time if they fought right then. Tang Ruyan would certainly not allow anyone else to take advantage of her like that. She would rather die. "Suaping may kick you out of his shop if I tell her the exact translation," said Joanna casually. Tang Ruyan stiffened at once. She gnashed her teeth with a contorted face and said, "Fine, let's practice. I'm not scared of you." Joanna replied to their customer with a casual smile. Mia noticed that Tang Ruyan didn't speak the common tongue, then wondered why the 2 clerks were that different. She looked at Joanna and said, "You don't seem weak either. Would you like to practice with me?" "Me?" Joanna had concealed her divine power, making it impossible to determine her level, but it made Mia realize she couldn't be weak. After all, her Frost Blood Star Dragon was a void state pet and she hadn't sent it back to the contract space. Its aura was the same, even though it had temporarily been shrunken by the store. An ordinary person would have trembled with fear while standing next to it. Joanna, on the other hand, was absolutely calm and at peace, not even bothering to look at her dragon. She was definitely not an ordinary person. Still, Mia was unable to tell her level, so there were only 2 possibilities: either Joanna's level was much higher than hers, or she had a secret technique to hide her aura. However, Mia didn't really scan her carefully, which would have been considered an awfully rude and presumptuous move. "Well, would you?" asked Mia curiously. Joanna frowned and was about to turn her down, but then she remembered her responsibility as an employee and could only heave a sigh. "Fine. Fine." Suaping and the little skeleton remained the same. Suaping sensed the dense rock elements in the air as he looked at the floating rock world in front of his eyes. Rock-class pets could cultivate much more effectively in this place. The elements were even denser than in the district he had just moved into, although he hadn't figured out whether the district was of a Tier 1 or a Tier 3 economy. Both the Inferno Dragon and the Dark Dragon Hound looked around in their original form. The cute little tiger also revealed its intimidating and magnificent form. It gave a once-over at the sight, then growled at Suaping as if asking where they were. The temporary contract made the pet not dislike Suaping, but it wasn't completely obedient, either. Suaping ignored it and looked at the Dark Dragon Hound. I picked this place for you. You should train here since you like defense skills so much. Try to learn the Rock T-Rex bloodline skill, it is great for defense. He had supposedly made the trip to take care of Mia's pet, but he didn't have to choose the most suitable cultivation site for it since it was just normal training. In fact, he was only going to train the tiger. The pets he really intended to train were the dark dragonhound and the little skeleton. Woof! The dark dragonhound was stunned for a moment but then became excited. Having Sua Ping's permission, it was finally able to study as many defense skills as it wanted. Let's go! Sua Ping said. That was a middle-rank cultivation site with a lot of beast kings, star state beasts, and even star lords. Sua Ping would not dare to be careless. To start the training, Sua Ping simply merged with the little skeleton and blatantly unleashed a ferocious aura. A lot of beasts were soon attracted to the aura. Sua Ping instantly became solemn upon sensing that a lot of powerful enemies were approaching. A rock T-Rex was soon in Sua Ping's sight. It was a more than 300 meters long creature with rocky scales and dark crystals on its spine. The rock T-Rexes that had developed crystal scales were the strongest of their kind. That one in particular carried the aura of the star state. Let's go! Sua Ping roared and asked the dark dragon hound, the inferno dragon and the tiger to fight the enemy together. The dark dragon hound and the inferno dragon were already prepared. They roared and dashed out without any thoughts of resistance. The tiger! Are you messing with me? The tiger shivered as it saw the rock T-Rex getting closer and closer, then looked at Sua Ping with disbelief and anger. You want me to attack it? Do you not see the strength gap between us? Let's go! Sua Ping looked at it coldly. He wouldn't show mercy to the tiger anymore once they entered the cultivation site. Roar! The tiger roared and was about to betray and swallow its master. It would rather fight Sua Ping than the terrifying Star State T-Rex. It might have found Sua Ping likable due to the contract, but its budding loyalty and friendliness towards Sua Ping had hit rock bottom after being ordered to go on a suicide mission. I'm going to eat you first. Would you think I'm a cat if I don't show you my temper? Sua Ping suddenly flashed clothes and stomped on its head brutally. After a bam, the tiger was pressed to the ground, completely unable to react. Its ears were ringing, the poor soul was quite overwhelmed. It became furious once it recovered, deciding to attack Sua Ping with all the skills it was capable of. Sua Ping closed his fingers as a sword and slashed at the tiger, triggering a trace of the void sword which tore apart all the skills and halted in front of the tiger's forehead. The tiger's eyes were as open as they could go, fright written all over its face. How is it possible? It had detected that Sua Ping was at the ocean state. His level was even lower than its own. However, the power he had unleashed was terrifying. It suddenly felt that Sua Ping was just as monstrous as the approaching rock T-Rex. Now! Sua Ping released his astral power and spun the space around him. The tiger, too intimidated to move in front of Sua Ping, instantly vanished and reappeared before the rock T-Rex in the next second. Space teleportation. It was a method that only Fate State beings were capable of, but Sua Ping had performed it. Hiss! The tiger shrieked in fear upon seeing such a large foe up close, its fur was rising like the spines of a hedgehog. It was just about to prostrate and beg for mercy. It couldn't even summon its courage to confront a star state enemy. The gap was too huge. Pet skill, killing intent. Sua Ping stood at a distance and suddenly directed the power with his finger. The first pet skill he had acquired from the system was shot, swiftly entering the tiger's body. Instantly, the tiger shivered and sensed that an extreme ferocity was rising from its heart. Its formerly twitching and cowering eyes were suddenly bloodshot. The skill was supposed to trigger a pet's own fighting skills and incite it to battle fiercely. However, Sua Ping modified the skill once he became a legendary warrior and learned more about rules. The effect would then not only trigger a pet's own fighting spirit, but also transfer some of his own killing intent to the pet. As for the amount to be transferred, it was under his control. He had just transferred half of his killing intent, when the tiger was already unleashing a ferocious and uncontrollable aura. It suddenly raised its head and roared at the T-Rex, which was 2 major levels above itself. The roar was so sudden and loud that even the massive foe was slightly shocked. It then became furious when it noticed that its enemy was just a void state tiger. It wasn't a friendly creature to begin with. How could it allow its food to roar back? There was a loud boom, the soil rolled and space shook due to the power of laws. The tiger instantly began to bleed. The constricting spatial force was already too much for it to bear. The tiger tried its hardest to resist. Nevertheless, its bones crackled, and it was squeezed until it turned into blood mist in the end. Revive! Su Ping commanded in the distance. The dead tiger was instantly brought back to life. The killing intent skill effect had already worn off, and the pet didn't know what had just happened. Once it saw the rock T-Rex, the tiger trembled and again crouched on the ground in fear. Killing intent. Su Ping snapped his fingers and released the skill again. This time, he made an adjustment and only transferred 1/10 of his killing intent, so that the tiger would be prompted to fight. Soon after, the trembling tiger roared, overflowing with a thirst for blood again. It charged at the massive rock T-Rex. The latter was rather shocked. Resurrection? It couldn't believe that a void state beast knew such a sophisticated skill, which involved the ultimate laws of time and life. It was again enraged when the tiger tried to pounce it again, so it quickly retaliated. On the other hand, the Inferno Dragon and the Dark Dragon Hound didn't just watch the drama, they also took action. When considering combat ability, the Dark Dragon Hound was only in the middle phase of the void state. The only reason it could endure the Lord of the Deep Cave's attack for 1 second was that it had been devoted to defense tactics. Su Ping watched the Dark Dragon Hound cast skills on the Inferno Dragon, but the defense layers were shredded like paper by the Star State attacks. The Dark Dragon Hound became even crazier and released even more skills. Some of the skills were even combined to make a more solid defense. Su Ping was silent. The Dark Dragon Hound didn't slack at all, unlike it usually did in the previous training sessions. It was just as diligent as in the time it fought against the Lord of the Deep Caves. Had it been too traumatized by that battle? Su Ping took a deep breath after seeing how hard it was fighting, becoming even more determined to protect them. Most of the other beasts retreated when the rock T-Rex released its aura. Some even turned around and fled. The rock T-Rex was the dominator in the area, and its race ruled over that world. Su Ping simply stood and issued commands to the pets. On the other hand, the tiger became increasingly bolder after it continuously died. Su Ping had to instill his own killing intent at first to bolster its courage, but later on he only needed to stimulate the pet's own killing intent so it would fight relentlessly. The tiger underwent obvious changes after all brushes with death. It perceived 3 skills in a row, and one of them was the advanced version of its old skill, which was as powerful as a Fate State attack. It was eventually able to last 3 to 5 seconds in a fight with the rock T-Rex, instead of being killed instantly. On the other hand, Su Ping found that the Dark Dragon Hound was also making progress. Apart from defense skills, it used a restraining skill for the first time in an attempt to trap the attacking rock T-Rex. Unfortunately, the skill wasn't too powerful and the target broke free with ease. However, if the target were a Fate State Beast King, it might have been restricted for a second or two. A second or two might be too little, but it would be enough for the Inferno Dragon to kill it. The rock T-Rex became angrier as the battle dragged on. It simply could not kill the 3 little bugs. It eventually decided it wasn't worth it and wanted to leave. Isn't it better to leave if I can't kill you? Su Ping quickly slashed and forced the fleeing beast out of the secondary space where it had flashed into. The rock T-Rex was shocked and frightened by Su Ping's sword aura. It roared at him in response. Su Ping didn't say anything, he simply stood in its way with sword in hand. His implication was obvious. You want to run? Not a chance. The rock T-Rex instantly snarled and charged at Su Ping. Su Ping moved as quickly as lightning, he was even faster than those that used flash movements in the secondary space. The rock T-Rex, being a rock-class beast that was focused on sturdiness, was too slow to catch him. Instead, it was cut by Suaping now and then and could only grimace in pain. Suaping had to admit that the guy was at least 3 times sturdier than the Lord of the Deep Caves. He had slain the latter with one attack, but the same attack could only make the rock T-Rex scream. The beast was finally wounded when Suaping joined the battle. It was shocked and scared, feeling the threat of death while it faced Suaping, knowing that it might die in that battle. It ignored Suaping and tried to run away. Since it couldn't use flash movements, it would simply sprint. Suaping slashed continuously and tried to stop it. However, the rock T-Rex was determined to get away. He had to either kill it or let it escape. Never mind. I'll just look for another target. Suaping heaved a sigh and let it go, especially when he noticed how wounded the tiger was. After all, it was already tiring due to the prolonged battle. He called the dark dragon hound and the other pets over, then wandered around with them, looking for new sparring partners. The tiger had already met the requirement for normal training, although they had only been there for 3 hours, that was equal to 15 minutes in the outside world. He could wait a while longer until 2 more hours passed outside. Time zipped by. Creak. The pet room's door was opened, Suaping combed his hair by the door and confirmed that he looked normal. Then, he finally walked out. The ferocious tiger was right behind him. It had shrunk back, turning into its cute little version again. The little skeleton, the dark dragon hound and the inferno dragon were settled down in the nursing pens. Once he looked at the watch in the shop, Suaping confirmed that 3 hours had indeed passed, just like he estimated. It was obviously the first time for the tiger to be trained like that. The service was quite effective, taking less time than Suaping had expected. Suaping then sensed the auras of Joanna, Mia, and the others, becoming relieved when he found that nothing had happened while he was away. He went to the virtual combat arena and found Mia, Tang Ruyan, Joanna, and Lane, all wearing interactive helmets. They seemed to be fighting at the moment. Tang Ruyan looked relaxed, she was smiling with her eyes closed. Mia, on the other hand, was frowning, there were beads of sweat on her forehead. Suaping was quite startled. Had Tang Ruyan made such progress in the last 3 hours that she was already able to crush Mia? He suspiciously pressed the notification button on Tang Ruyan's device. Tang Ruyan left the virtual world and took off the helmet. She was delighted to see Suaping. "You're back. How long did it take?" She took out her phone, only to be surprised. 3 hours? You finished already? Suaping nodded. He was surprised to see that Mia hadn't left the simulation yet. He asked, "Why isn't it over yet?" Tang Ruyan noticed it too and smiled. Hee. She wasn't practicing with me, but with her. She nodded at Joanna. Suaping was stunned. What? She was practicing with Joanna? Suaping was at a loss for words. No wonder Mia looked as miserable as if she were constipated. She was fighting Joanna, a goddess of war from the demigod burial. Joanna's level was higher than Mia's in the first place. Even if a handicap was used to make their levels be the same. Suaping wasn't confident of beating Joanna, either. Speaking of which, they had never practiced. Since they finally had a virtual arena, maybe he could practice with Joanna someday. Suaping coughed when he thought about it, especially when he saw that Mia was getting paler by the second. He pressed the notification button on Joanna's device. Soon after, Mia opened her eyes abruptly and then remained unmoving in her seat, as if worn out. Joanna, too, opened her eyes and looked at Suaping calmly. It's only been 3 hours. Have you already finished the training? Suaping was surprised, since he noticed that she didn't check the time. How do you know it's been 3 hours? I did my own calculation, said Joanna while pointing at her head. Suaping was speechless. Had she been paying attention to the flow of time while fighting Mia? Mia was woken up by Joanna's response, acting shocked like a cat whose tail had just been stepped upon. She stood up abruptly and looked Joanna in the eye. You were keeping track of the time? You weren't even trying your best during the battle. Joanna looked at her in surprise. Her eyes seemed to be saying, did I even need to try my best? Naturally, Suo Ping understood Joanna's unspoken words. He sweated and coughed, before he said to Joanna telepathically, she's a customer anyway, try not to be mean. You're a war goddess, you know. Joanna looked back at Suo Ping and replied telepathically, I wasn't being mean to her. I didn't expect her to be so weak, so I accidentally killed her twice. Then I controlled my strength and fought her for 3 hours evenly matched. I could have kept the fight going like that for 5 or maybe 8 hours more if you hadn't come back, but I don't think her spiritual power would be enough to last that long. Suo Ping, this battle went on for 3 hours? Suo Ping didn't know what to say and could only look at Joanna's calm expression. The woman had clearly manipulated the battle. It was quite insulting. Fortunately, Mia probably didn't know much about that, or she might have ended up feeling depressed. Let's have another match since you didn't try your best, said Mia, gnashing her teeth while she also looked at the silent Joanna. She found it hard to believe that she had been defeated by an employee from a random shop. At first, she was defeated by Joanna twice in a row, and then Joanna told her it had something to do with errors of her device. She bought it, because she had been defeated too quickly and not having a chance to realize what had happened. However, she was almost stupefied because of the long battle which ensued, and what Joanna had just said. She fought against a minor clerk for 3 hours without being able to win, and the clerk went easy on her. Once Suo Ping arrived, Joanna took advantage of her weakness and quickly ended the match. It obviously suggested that she had never tried her best. The more she thought about it, the more regretful she became. She wasn't lacking in talent, and she was better than most people in her rank. She respected very few people, other than the prodigies in her family and at school. Joanna going easy on her and defeating her was a hard pill to swallow. Tang Ruyan couldn't have been happier to see the frustration and even tears on Mia's face. Finally, that woman had tasted exactly what she had felt earlier. However, she also noticed something after observing their 3-hour fight. Joanna went easy on her opponent. The 2 kills at the beginning weren't due to equipment errors, but because of her real expertise. Joanna was definitely beyond that woman's level. Tang Ruyan was quite disappointed at the thought of that. Joanna was Suo Ping's employee, while she had only managed to land a temporary position. She used to think that Joanna was just a legendary warrior. She found that Joanna was also much more skilled at fighting than she was. Well, seeing that Mia was determined to fight again, Suo Ping quickly said, let's talk about practice later. Your pet has already been trained. Would you like to check it first? The mention of her pet brought Mia back to reality. She finally remembered that she had been waiting for Suo Ping to finish his training. However, didn't he say that it would take at least half a day? Why was it done in only 3 hours? She couldn't help but look at Suo Ping and then quickly fix her eyes on the cute little tiger. She suddenly found that there was something odd about her pet. The previously blurred contrast in her head became clear again, but the sense of strangeness didn't disappear. She found that Little White seemed to have been replaced for another with an obviously different aura. Its eyes used to be soft and cute in the past, especially when it nuzzled against her. They had become sharp and thoughtful, indicating that they belonged to a bada. What a pair of familiar legs! The tiger almost burst into tears of joy. It finally remembered who its real master was. As for the guy next to it, it glanced back at him and then quickly looked away. He's a devil. You really are Little White. Mia was in a trance as she felt the familiar nuzzling. The tiger became soft and cute again, not nearly as aggressive as it had been a moment earlier. Was it an illusion? She took out her equipment and scanned the battle pet by her feet. Then, her eyes widened with disbelief. Little White's results were surprisingly good and had been significantly increased. The p-value alone had been improved by 2.7, which was almost as good as that of the frost blood star dragons after consuming 2 7,000-year heaven frost crystal fruits in a row. How did you do it? Mia was rather stunned. It was amazing. Based on the data, only 3 hours had passed and the combat ability of her pet had been improved by at least 50%. What did a 50% improvement mean? Little White's combat ability had only just reached the advanced phase of the void state among her many battle pets recently. However, it had become much stronger, enough to kill most of the battle pets in the advanced phase of the void state. With such a combat ability, it was almost her strongest battle pet. It was able to perceive 3 skills. You can check them in the test room next door. Anna, show her the way, said Suaping. Joanna stood up after hearing that. Mia was stunned. She asked with widened eyes, it perceived 3 skills. She wondered whether Suaping had fed any illegal drugs to her battle pet in order to make its data soar, even though the data would fall sooner or later with other side effects. However, he claimed that Little White had perceived 3 skills. Skills couldn't be faked. There were no drugs in the Federation that could make a battle pet perceive new skills. The only way was through training. Let it try its best. The test room can take it. Suaping chuckled. Mia was dazed for a moment, while Joanna was already leading the way. This way, please. Mia felt troubled as she looked at her. She didn't expect the woman who beat her so easily to be that obedient to Suaping and work as his employee. She followed Mia with Little White in tow. Lane was about to tag along, when Suaping extended his hand and stopped him. They're going to test the pet. Wouldn't you get to know everything about the pet if you went with them? Suaping looked at Lane casually. It was his responsibility to protect his customers' privacy. Lane was rather angered after hearing that. He withdrew his gaze and stared at Suaping coldly after seeing that Mia had already walked away with Joanna. I don't know how you managed to do this, but remember that you've pissed off the Rein family today. We are the rulers of this planet. Is that so? Suaping raised his eyebrows. Had he pissed off the local landlord the moment he arrived? Speaking of which, he didn't know the first thing about the region he had moved into. The host has just moved to a new region. Would you like to scan the region and acquire the map of the nearby area? Asked the system casually. Just tell me how much it costs. 10,000 energy points. You're not entirely ungrateful. Suaping was relieved. 10,000 energy points meant 1,000,000 astral coins. Even the Heaven Frost crystal fruits he sold earlier were worth 6 million. A lot of information flowed into his head after accepted the offer. Several seconds later, Suaping finally had a better understanding of the environment. The planet he was on was named Rhea. It was a Tier 3 planet, and a Tier 3 economy according to the system. His random relocation draw, ranging from Tier 1 to Tier 3, had unfortunately sent him to a Tier 3 region. Rhea, along with 8 other planets, belonged to a solar system named Zero Prun, which was a component of the Sylvie Galaxy. Suaping learned that the Sylvie Galaxy was a major solar system controlled by ascendant state experts. It consisted of many lesser solar systems, Zero Prun being one of them. Sylvie was dominated by the Lei-Fa family. Suaping didn't expect to make an enemy of a scion from the Rein family, which controlled the planet his shop was on, or to strike a deal with someone from the Lei-Fa family, which controlled the entire solar system, on his first day setting up shop in that place. He had a lot of mixed feelings, but he wasn't scared. He would be safe as long as he stayed inside the shop. Not even Sylvie's ascendant state experts could hurt him, let alone that the leader of Rhea wasn't even a Star Lord. He wasn't afraid of taking him on. What's the level above the Star State? Suaping looked at Lane and asked him curiously. Lane. He was rather dazed to see the sincerely intrigued look on Suaping's face. I was threatening you just now. Why are you suddenly talking about irrelevant stuff? You're making it impossible for me to vent my fury. I'm angry. What do you mean? Everybody knows that the Star Lord state and the Ascendant state are above the Star state. Even novices below the Ocean state know that, snapped Lane. Sua Ping asked in surprise, are those the only levels? The Star state, the Star Lord state, and the Ascendant state. Humph, there are naturally higher levels above the Ascendant state, but it's useless for you to know that. You can't even look up to such heights, much less reaching them. Lane sneered in disdain. Sua Ping raised his eyebrows and realized what was going on. The legendary level consisted of the Ocean state, the Void state and the Fate state. The Star level, on the other hand, included the Star state, the Star Lord state, and the Ascendant state. There were also higher states above the Ascendant state. Those had to be the ranks of the big hots in the Federation. Maybe the ultimate gods in the demigod burial who were stronger than Joanna were on that level. A Star Lord can control a small solar system. A stronger Star Lord controls a larger solar system. Those in the Ascendant state control major solar systems, Sua Ping mumbled to himself and learned more about the Federation. So to speak, the man who supervised Rhea was probably a Star State warrior at best. Since it was a Tier 3 planet, it meant that the Star State leader of the Rein family wasn't bad. The leaders of Tier 1 planets were very likely stronger, possibly with potential to become Star Lords. Sua Ping gave a bitter smile as he was reminded of the Blue Planet, wondering when the Blue Planet could be upgraded from Tier 5 to Tier 1. It would require the strength of the planet's lord and the economy on the planet itself. Then again, the economy usually depended on the lord's strength. Only the lords who were strong could funnel resources and revenues to their planets. Most trades depended on human factors, nobody was willing to do business on a Tier 5 planet. Their lords had to beg and pull strings in order to boost the economy. It seems that I'm not a qualified lord at all. It's inappropriate to let Nai Huofeng and the others do all the work. I should try to find some patrons for the Blue Planet, Sua Ping thought. He had been elected as the Lord anyway, and he would feel guilty if he shirked all of his responsibilities. What are you mumbling? Lane frowned when he heard Sua Ping whispering to himself. He said coldly, maybe I'll forgive you if you apologize right now. Sua Ping came back to his senses and looked at the man, before he asked curiously, you said that the Ryans dominate this planet. Then, how many young men like you are there in your family? Are you the only one? Lane quickly became gloomy and stared at Sua Ping coldly. What do you mean? What Sua Ping had just mentioned was exactly a painful spot in his heart. The Ryan family was enormous, there were 1,000 juniors in it, with almost 10 young men as talented as him. He had many uncles and granduncles, the factions within the family were extremely complex. He and his cousins knew that, even though they seemed powerful as members of the Ryan family, they were simply luckier than most people on the planet, it was hard for them to do things that they weren't allowed to. After all, while the Ryan family was intimidating as a whole, it didn't necessarily apply to their power as individuals. They could only use their own faction's power as leverage for their personal interests, which wasn't as strong while it sometimes could work against them. Being a descendant of a major family wasn't easy, either. That was also why Lane had been courting Mia. His position in the family would soar if he could become Mia's boyfriend, even if they didn't get married. He could distinguish himself among his peers. Nothing. You talk about your family all the time. I'm quite interested in finding out if your family will give my shop a hard time just because of you. Sua Ping chuckled. His disrespect made Lane blush and clench his fists. He was replete with wrath. However, his upbringing kicked in, letting him suppress his urge with rationality. While he was infuriated by Sua Ping's attitude, he could not help but wonder about what was behind the man's arrogance. He wasn't a useless man, or he couldn't have become a legendary warrior at such a young age, or enter the same school as Mia did. The school was one of the 5 most renowned academic establishments in Sylvie. Anyone who graduated from that school had the potential to reach the Star State. Who are you? Lane stared at Sua Ping. The guy didn't get mad nor did he yell at him. Is it because he's scared of my fearlessness? Sua Ping chuckled. It seems that this guy isn't completely worthless. He smiled, choosing not to reply. Since you're scared of me, you can just do your work and guess my identity. He didn't mind finishing the guy off if the latter really caused trouble for him. Lane frowned when he saw Sua Ping's reaction, but he didn't say anything. He had expected that Sua Ping wouldn't reveal a thing. So, he might as well investigate him on his own. The Ryan family's intelligence network could easily help him find out what color Sua Ping's underwear was as long as he stayed on that planet. Mia and Joanna returned right then. Mia was obviously excited. She scurried to reach Sua Ping the moment she saw him and said, "Boss, your training is truly miraculous." Her expression was enough to tell that she had just confirmed the tiger's skills. He chuckled and said, "I'm glad you're not disappointed." "No, of course not." Mia quickly waved her hand, almost dropping her ladylike demeanor. After all, she always held her pets dearly. In other words, she was the kind of person who didn't feel much about other people's friendliness, but liked those who were nice to their pets. It's amazing to see that a training that costs 100 million can be this effective. Mia had never been an eloquent person and didn't know how to describe her feelings. 100 million was a large number that most people couldn't make in their entire lives. It wasn't too much, or too little, for the training of a void state battle pet, but the effect of Sua Ping's training was absolutely worth it. She felt like she might not have achieved the same effect even if she paid $1 billion somewhere else. Besides, Sua Ping's training had only taken 3 hours. It was wonderful. Sua Ping chuckled and said, "It's not very surprising. The first training session is always effective. The second one will produce more moderate results, but it will still allow your pet to learn at least one new skill. Otherwise, I'll train it until it picks up a new skill." Mia trusted Sua Ping completely by then. She nodded quickly and said to him with a strange brilliance in her eyes, "Boss, could you help me train my other battle pets?" Sua Ping was about to offer just that. After all, his quest was to have her spend 10 million energy points, and the 100 million astral coins she paid for the tiger's training were only 1 million energy points. He had to somehow make her pay for 9 additional training sessions. "No problem." Sua Ping nodded. "Really? Thank you so much, boss." Mia was so thrilled that she even curtsied to Sua Ping according to the Lei Fa's etiquette. Then, she said with unease, "About the price will still be 100 million for each session, if the battle pets are still in the void state," said Sua Ping, allaying her worry. With glowing eyes, Mia exclaimed, "Boss, you really are a good guy." Sua Ping felt the urge to face palm. "Why does it sound like you're refusing my love confession?" There was a slight change in Lane's expression, feeling somewhat awkward after seeing Mia's exquisite face. She was flushing with excitement and an alluring charm. However, he was tempted at the same time, all the more determined to conquer that woman.